B'Shem HaShem na'aseh v'na'atzliach, shiur Torah, Baruch HaShem. We're here in Monsey. Thank you very much for having me. Thank you, Rabbi Yoel, for making this whole thing happen. Hashem v'orech atkhem b'kol mikol kol. All the sponsors, all the supporters, and all of you that came, Baruch Hashem. Thank you very much for coming. I had a lot of different ideas, Baruch Hashem, of what to talk about, but also Rabbi Yoel told me that people like to ask questions. So if you guys have specific questions you want to ask, bechavod. If not, there's a bunch of different ideas. One of the questions that I thought about is, what is the difference between all of the Gedolim, all the Tzaddikim, whether it's Rabbi Satmar, or it's Rabbi Moshe Feinstein, or it's Rabbi Yosef, or all of the different Tzaddikim that have lived throughout the generations? What's the difference between how they feel about the next Jew, regardless of where he came from, regardless if he's from their Keilah or somebody else's Keilah, whether he's Chiloni or he's Dati, whether he's this Chassidut or a different Chassidut, and the average person, the average Jew out there? What's the big difference? Now, when as you grow, one of the things that you learn as you get older and older, you start realizing that you don't know as much as you thought when you were younger. When I was younger, I remember, before I had kids, I would look at other people's kids and I say, my kids are going to be much better than that. My kids are going to be like soldiers. My kids are going to do everything I say. Once I had kids, I would do everything that they say. You realize that not everything goes as planned. You start learning. So, but one of the things that we see in our generation is that chinuch is different. In the old generations, the Sfarim tell us that, if somebody had a problem, they would go to the Rabbi, they would go to have a discussion with their parents, they would go to a different uncle, a cousin, a brother, somebody. Somebody would take them on and as under their wing and try to help them. And usually, more times than not, this worked out. Today, usually you just give them some drugs and the parents become calm because the kid is sleeping. Usually, today, every other kid has some type of, attention deficit disorder or some other disorder. We've turned an entire generation to Baalei Mum. Like everybody has a deformity. No one can handle their problems. And it's not true, because the Jewish Neshama, has not changed. The Jewish Neshama hasn't changed. The same Neshama that was at Mount Sinai is still here today. So when we look at things and we see that really the Neshama itself hasn't changed, but our ability to handle things and how we deal with things has changed. So one of the best things that we can do is look at how Gedolei Israel handled the similar problems. Because as Rabbi Akiva says, Gedolei Israel are like wings. We are the dove, they're the wings. Without the wings, the dove is just a piece of meat. So we have to look at what did Gedolei Israel do and how does it apply to us. Now, Rav Moshe Feinstein was known as not only a Torah giant, but they say, how just like they say, Moshe ad Moshe lo haya ki Moshe about the Rambam, they say, Moshe ad Moshe lo haya ki Moshe also about Rav Moshe Feinstein when it comes to anava, when it comes to humility. But Rav Moshe Feinstein wasn't always that way. He grew to become that. And there was a story I told of yours kids earlier that I think really starts things in the right perspective. In the yeshiva, there was a little boy that apparently came from a newly religious family. And this little boy, his name was Philip. And he was wearing short jeans pants. And he didn't look like everybody else in the yeshiva. But this little 5-6-year-old boy was confused, was looking through his pockets. Some of the kids asked him, everything okay? He didn't answer anybody. It's okay, I didn't answer anybody. Everybody moves on. Eventually, Rav Moshe Feinstein is walking down the hall. He sees this boy. He says, hi, Yeled. Hi, boy. I'm Moshe. What's your name? He says, Philip. He says, Philip, can I help you with something? He says, yeah, I'm looking for a nickel so I can make a phone call to my parents. He says, I can help you. And he starts looking through his pockets. Oh, I don't have one. But 1 second, just wait here. Philip, wait one here. I'm going to get it for you. 5-year-old, 6-year-old says, okay, no. He doesn't know what Moshe Feinstein is. He doesn't know that this is Gedolim, this is the Moshe Rabbeinu of the generation that's going to get him a little 5-cent, a little nickel. He just knows he needs a nickel. But Moshe Feinstein goes to the room. All the Bachurim are learning over there. And he taps on one of the Bachurim. Yaakov, you have a nickel? Yaakov knows who Moshe Feinstein is. Just, no, Kvod Harav, it's in the room, I can go get it. No, Bitul Torah, it's okay. Then he goes to the nickel. Moshe, you have a nickel? No, but I have a nickel. Shh, Bitul Torah, it's okay. He goes from one Bachur to the next, the whole class. Nobody has a nickel on them. He says, you know what, let me check in the Tzedakah box. Maybe somebody put a nickel in there. He opens the Tzedakah box, he sees there's a nickel. He takes a quarter out of his pocket, he puts it there, and he takes the nickel. And then he goes and he's walking as fast as a 90-year-old man can. Philip, I got it for you. But Philip is not smiling. Philip is sad. By the time he gets to him, he says, Philip, I got it. I got the nickel. Oh, it's too late. You took too much time. Why? Why not? No, you don't understand. Finally, after all this time that I'm here, I found a boy, David, that wants to play with me, and I really like him, and I want to play with him. But he was waiting for me, because I realized that if I go play with him, my parents are going to worry, so I wanted to call my parents. But by the time you brought the nickel, David left already. That's it. I don't have any friends again. And the kid starts crying. Now, between us, if you just gave the kid a nickel and the friend left, what do you say? Okay, so find another friend. No, what? David's the last kid in the world? That's the attitude of a normal person. Normal person is, what, the boy left, David left? Okay, I'll find you 500 other Davids. That's the normal attitude. But Moshe Feinstein is not a normal person. He says to him, Philip, you're right. It's my fault. It's my fault. I took too long. But I don't give up. Let's go find David. No, he left. The kid is not, doesn't care. He's upset. He's crying. He left. No, we'll find him. Come on. David, let's go together. He takes the little boy by the hand, and they walk out of the building, and they start going from playground to playground. 90-year-old Moshe Feinstein and a little 5-year-old kid with little jean shorts. They're walking from playground to playground. Is he here? No, he's not here. See, you took too long. Okay, well, for the next one. By the time they got to the third playground, he said, yeah, he's here, but look, he's playing with somebody else already. He says, but wait one sec, wait one here. Moshe Feinstein goes to David. David is hanging out on the swing. He's already playing with somebody else. He's living life. 5, 6-year-old. It's the best thing in life. He's on a swing. Sees the old man coming up to him. He says, David, Philip is here. But I'm playing with somebody already. No, David, you don't understand. Philip is a really good friend. He wants to play with you. He really wants to play with you. Yeah, but he took too long. Oh, what am I going to wait for him? I already found somebody else. Okay, so play with him too. All 3 of you can play. I don't know. David, Philip is the best friend you could ever have. I'm telling you, I know him. Okay, fine, I'll play with him. Brings David along. Now, while this is happening, there's some adults and some other older kids that know who Moshe Feinstein is. They think maybe it's his grandson. They think, they have no idea. Why is Moshe Feinstein in the playground? No one knows. So, David and Philip start playing. Moshe Feinstein asks David, where's Philip? What's the phone number so I can call your parents and tell them that everything's okay? He gives him the phone number and he leaves. After the Moshe Feinstein leaves, the other kids come up to this kid. He's like, is Moshe Feinstein your grandfather? He goes, no. He goes, do you know who he is? He goes, I don't know. I think he's Eliyahu Navi. Now, to him, that's what it was. To Philip, that's what it was. That was Eliyahu Navi. The reality is, Rabotai, there's a difference. What's the difference? When we look at a story like that about Gedol Yisrael, before we saw the conclusion, the average person says, listen, Philip, you lost your friend, find another one, tough it out, go find something else, figure it out. This is not the end of the world. Stop being a crybaby. Don't make it a big deal. Everything's going to be okay. Whatever other explanation we're going to come up with in different words, that's generally the way we look at things as regular people. Gedolei Yisrael didn't just hear what people said and want to help them. They felt their pain. And that's one of the big differences when we see in Chinuch today versus in previous generations. There is wanting to do good, wanting to help, and then there's feeling the other person's pain. And this is one of the greatest things that a person that wants to do better can start looking at things from a different perspective. Because how could I feel the next person's pain? Rather than just do good for the sake of good, or do good to make myself feel good because I did good, what can bring me to feel the other person's pain? Because that will change the whole equation. That will change the everything, that the way we look at things. Now, Rav Shmuel Auerbach, alav shalom, also has a similar story, but a different type of boy. He did not have any kids, but he treated his talmidim like they were his kids. And him and the Rabbanit would come to their houses, they would be hosted by them, and he would treat them like kids. And every time one of the talmidim got married, the Rabbanit would buy a new dress. She says, my son is getting married. She would get a new dress as a celebration. And one of the times, they came to one of the Talmid, and this Talmid had a little boy that was about a year and a half old. So as any father does, he wants to teach his kid how to walk. So what did he do? He had a ball in his hand, and he told the kid, come. And the kid, manages to get up on two legs and starts walking. And as he gets closer, the father, what does he do? What most fathers do. He takes a step back or two steps back. Why? To make him walk more. As soon as Rav Auerbach saw this, he goes, what are you doing? What are you doing? It's Isur Deoraita. The Talmid is looking. Rav, I'm not wearing shatnez. It's not Shabbat. The ball is not muktzeh. What did I do? He says, the Torah tells us, don't hurt your brother. What are you doing? You're torturing him. He says, well, I'm teaching him how to walk. He goes, no. If you want him to walk, just stand wherever you want to stand, and he'll get to you if he wants to get to you. But he got up finally. He walked all over to you. And what are you doing? You're walking away? Why are you walking away? You know what kind of pain you're causing him? Not from the father's perspective. Of course the father loves his kid. But what's the difference here? The difference is the father loves the kid, but the Rav feels the kid. The father loves the kid. There's no question about it that he loves the kid, or else he would be doing something else. But the Rav feels the kid. Why? Because the closer you get to HaKadosh Baruch Hu through the Torah, the more you start feeling the other neshamot that are around you. Now, a person that suffers from any type of pain usually doesn't need to think about it. Baruch Hashem, I had a lot of pain throughout my life. And as I always tell people, I may not know a lot of different things, but I'm an expert in pain. And anyone that wants to know the film, or we did about my personal story, what am I even talking about if you don't know the story? There's a film called HaShem Took Back His Millions, and it tells you a nice short summary of what happened. But the key is that when a person suffers pain, he doesn't have to think about it. The pain is just there. And even if he doesn't think about it, the pain is still there also. The pain is not like it has hours of operation, or it clocks in, it clocks out. It just shows up whether you like it or you don't like it. So to feel another person's pain It's not possible unless you start thinking from a different perspective than we naturally do. Now, not everyone here has kids. Not everyone here may necessarily even see the same perspective on how to raise kids. But everyone here, I'm sure, knows at least one person that's not necessarily a big fan of HaShem right now, or that's not necessarily interested in Torah anymore. En bait she'en bo mit. Everyone has somebody that they know, a cousin, a friend, a neighbor, or someone that either is off the derech or never got on it, or whatever the case may be. Now, if you guys may have heard, a couple of weeks ago, there was a little boy, maybe 4 or 5 year old boy in Israel. The father took him to, I think, the beach, and just to walk on the beach. He was looking at something, the kid was playing, he turned around, the kid disappeared. After the kid disappeared, the whole country started looking for him. Everyone, doesn't matter where you were religious or you're not religious, you were from Tel Aviv or you were from Yerushalayim or you were from Netanya, everyone started gathering and looking for this kid. Where did this 5-year-old kid go? Where could he possibly go? All of a sudden, there was Achdut. All of a sudden, everyone was brothers together. Once they found the kid, everyone celebrated, as if it was their kid. So everyone understands here that if there's a chas v'shalom, a 5-year-old kid that disappears, and you find them, it's a big celebration. Everyone has nachat from it. Everyone is happy this happened. I remember when I went to Canada a couple of months ago, there was a young girl that disappeared. I think it was for almost a week. And Baruch Hashem, while we were there, I think the day later or 2 days later, they found her. It was Baruch Hashem, big miracle that they found her and she was okay. So when we find someone that was lost, everyone can understand whether they're religious or not, whether they're Satmar or they're Bobov or they're Sephardi or Ashkenazi or Yemenite or whatever. Everyone understands we just found a treasure. We just found something good. Something amazing just happened. But the question is, how do we feel when we hear that another Jew just started keeping Shabbat? Do we get just as excited? How do we feel when we hear that another woman started covering her hair? How do we feel when we hear that this guy just left his non-Jewish girlfriend? Usually it's like, oh, chazak u'baruch. Shakoch. If you want, you need a place to come for Sudah Shlishit, you come to my house. Like as if he's like a beggar in the street. Like, listen, if you don't have a place to eat, you can come to my house. There's no like, yay, Baruch Hashem, this guy's keeping Shabbat, Am Yisrael Chai. No one does that. Who does it? Is anyone excited? Oh, he's keeping Shabbat. Maybe the rabbi that helped him keep Shabbat. Maybe the family that's waiting for him to do Teshuvah for 5, 10, 15 years. But generally speaking, the average Jew out there hears that another Jew did Teshuvah. It's like, oh, okay, Chazak u'Baruch, good for you. What's the difference? The 5-year-old boy was missing. That was just the body. Everyone can connect to the body. Everyone can understand why that's significant. And everyone was happy when the body was found. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, thank you, Skuli Mitzvot. HaKadosh Baruch Hu has been looking for every single Jew to do Teshuvah so he can bring the salvation for 3,300 plus years. Which means, if you have a Jew, whether you know him personally or you don't know him personally, whether he's a family member or he's a complete stranger, whether he's your neighbor or he lives in Algeria, whether he lives in your Chassidut or he lives in a completely opposite Chassidut, whether he's Sephardi or he's Ashkenazi, HaKadosh Baruch Hu has been waiting for him for over 3,000 years to come home. And as the Mishnah in Masechet Avot says, every single day there's a bat kol that comes out from Mount Sinai. Every day there's a bat kol. But nobody hears it. So the Baal Shem Tov's af, if nobody hears it, then how come there's a bat kol every day? One of the reasons is because in order to hear the bat kol, the Neshama has to be connected to the source. The Neshama has to remind itself that we were also at Mount Sinai. And even though we find ourselves at a synagogue, Baruch Hashem, in the beginning of the week, at 8, 9 o'clock at night, and we feel perfectly fine being in this place, that guy that was also at Mount Sinai, that girl that was also at Mount Sinai, they prefer to be at a nightclub. They prefer to be at a bar. They prefer to be at a casino. They prefer to be any other place but here. And the reason why is because they're lost. Now, I don't know if us all of a sudden starting to cheer each other on, to be excited about helping people do Teshuvah is necessarily going to bring them out of the bar. But what I do know is that if we became a little bit more sensitive about not just bodies, but also about neshamot, this would change things. Because when it comes down to Am Yisrael, your neshama and his neshama is just as significant to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And if we don't start becoming more sensitive to what HaKadosh Baruch Hu is looking for, then what really do we expect? What has changed in the last 3,000 years? What did we do that's different? Why do we want HaKadosh Baruch Hu to build us the Bet HaMikdash? What have we changed? Everyone likes to talk about sinat chinam. Everyone likes to talk about baseless hatred, even though sometimes the people that talk about baseless hatred, they themselves hate more than other people because they don't like somebody from a different keilah. But the reality is, if anyone wants to take something upon themselves and get a little stronger from this time to next year, I would say maybe we cannot get to the level of Rabbi Moshe Feinstein and Rabbi Auerbach and Gedolim Israel that could feel another Jew, but perhaps we can take upon ourselves something that's going to make us a little bit more sensitive to some Jew that's not necessarily as close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He doesn't really want to go to the synagogue. He doesn't necessarily want to learn Musar. He doesn't necessarily want to pray 3 times a day. How do we get more sensitive about it? First and foremost, try to motivate him to learn more. Try to motivate him to do more Torah. And if you can't do it yourself, you could support it, people that are doing it. One of the beautiful things that we did at our organization, since our whole goal is to help people do Teshuvah, is to make this thing. This is a tablet that doesn't go on the internet. All it has is 19 hours of the best films we've made in the last 12 years, that the whole goal of every film is inspired to change, inspired to motivate people, but using technology to do it. You open it, it starts, you don't even have to press play, starts with a song to cheer you up. Then after that, the next one is the film that I told you about, HaShem took back his millions, and it gives you the battery died, Baruch Hashem. But the point is, and it comes with the cable for the charger. The point is, this is one of the devices, this is what we call a Kiruv box, that we use this to give it to different people, because it doesn't matter where you came from. Whether you're an 18-year-old kid that likes to play on your iPhone all day, or you came from a different Hasidut that forbids internet, or you are from Israel, or you're from America, everyone likes technology, and everyone can use such a thing. Why? It doesn't have commercials, it doesn't have anything boring, and it has things that will interest anyone. And anyone that goes through this, you're going to see some interesting films that will inspire anybody to change. If you go through the entire 19 hours and you haven't changed, you can get a special signature from me that you are dafuk. You're completely, the system's not working. The system is not working. Why do we make this? Not to make money. We made this because we're trying to do everything we possibly can to reach Jews wherever they are in their life. Because over the last 12 years, I've seen Jews from all walks of life. Some from the secular world, some from the religious world, that are completely disconnected. They may have a kippah even bigger than mine. But if you ask them, what's the purpose of life? Why are you even here in the world? What do you believe about HaShem? They have no idea. Some people even think that, like the Goyim, that HaShem Chas v'Shalom has a body. Or some people think that HaShem needs you. like as if he has some type of lacking of some kind. Some people think, all types of things that really are the opposite of what Torah is, because they don't have the basics of the basic foundation of the Torah. So it doesn't matter where they came from. Every Jew needs to get a little bit of chizuk that's going to make them a little closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And what we've been trying to do over the last 12 years is reach every single one of them. We have our videos in 15 different languages, reaching people from all over the world, to try to get people to understand the basic foundation of the Torah. Because if no one is going to care about them, then guess what? They're going to stay exactly where they were. How do I know? I was one of them. I grew up in Israel. I came to the United States when I was 10 years old, when we weren't exactly, you can't call us exactly religious. If you call going to synagogue once a year or twice a year during the holidays religious, then I was very religious. I would go once, twice a year. But if you call keeping Shabbat religious, or you keep eating kosher religious, not so much. I wasn't so good at that. I didn't eat pig, but I wasn't exactly, Chalav Israel. But something changed. As I got into the business world, I started managing money for millionaires and billionaires, made a lot of money myself. And at some point, HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, okay, you've had enough of this. Now, the next chapter of your life, my life turned upside down. I got very, very sick. Surgery that went wrong. Had to fight for my life for many years. And at that point, I realized that there has to be more to life than just money, just material, just things like that. And I started realizing that I need to ask the boss to have some mercy on me. Now, most people that do teshuvah, it's usually after a trauma. It's usually after HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives them a slap in the face, or sometimes a punch, or sometimes both. And then they realize, okay, HaShem, please help me. Now, we can wait and do nothing, and at some point or another, everyone will have the chance. That's what the Rambam says before Mashiach comes. Everyone is going to have that chance. There's Gog and Magog, there's the end of days, all that stuff. There's no guarantee that another Holocaust is not going to happen. There's no book that says that there's no Holocaust. We're in a situation where people realize anti-Semitism is on the rise. It's even popular to be anti-Semitic now. There's a lot of problems. So we could do nothing and stay the same. Or we could say, listen, maybe we can do something about it. Maybe we can't save everybody or help everybody, but maybe if every single person here says, you know what, I'm going to try to help that one person that as soon as the rabbi said you have somebody in your family, your friend that you know that he's not religious, that guy, I'm going to try to see if I can help him. I'm going to try to see if I can help him do teshuvah in some way. Bring him to a shiur, send him a shiur. Do something to show him that maybe I don't feel his pain, but I want to. Maybe I don't understand his confusion, but I want to. Maybe I don't really know why he's not close to HaShem, but I want to. Because all of those issues have a solution. There's no question that does not have a solution. The Torah has everything in it. When I was in business, rabbis would come to my office every single week. And every single time they came, I gave them tzedakah. And since I had a lot of money, it was easy to give. I had an office for 16 years. And I did the math at one point, but I'll make it even simpler. Even if they came once per week for 10 years, that means they had 520 chances to tell me that I'm living like a goy, to tell me that I'm a mechalel Shabbat mot yumat, to tell me that I'm the equivalent of an idol worshiper, to tell me that I'm not going to have Gan Eden at some point, to tell me maybe you should consider changing, to tell me, you know what, let's learn Torah together, see what we learn together. Anything other than you have tzedakah to give. But guess what? For 16 years and a whole lot more than 520 times, no one cared about my Neshama. They cared about the money I gave them, sometimes 1,000, sometimes 2,000, sometimes 500, sometimes 100, sometimes 5,000, all types of dollar bills. All of them liked it. But when it came to me doing Teshuvah, me keeping Shabbat, any of those things, no one cared. That's the missing link, Rabotai Karim. We can't just say, we are Am Yisrael and Am Yisrael Chai, when we have nearly 80% of Am Yisrael are not even keeping Shabbat. We can't call ourselves Am Echad, that we're one nation, when really many of us don't even care what the other half is doing. We just try to stay away. As long as they don't affect my kid like they have rabies. We've gotten to a point that even if people among our own community, our own religious community, all of a sudden they wear a different color shirt, or they change the kippah, or they go to a different shul, or they start reading a certain book that is not exactly part of the what everybody else is learning, all of a sudden we start canceling each other out. Rabotai Karim, if we want to have Achdut, we have to start, at the very least, start looking at things and try to help each other. Start looking at things from a way we can start feeling each other. And if we do that, we're going to start becoming much more concerned about the Jew, whether he's religious or he's not religious, whether he's my cousin or he's my uncle or he's my next door neighbor, and try to see, maybe, you know what? Instead of me being worried about whether he has chalas for Shabbat, or me being worried about whether he has a place to stay, or whether the kid is lost or he's not lost, maybe I should worry a little bit about his neshama. Maybe I could do something for his neshama. And if I can't do it because he's not in my circle, or I don't know how to talk, somebody else can do it. I could either ask the rabbi to speak to him, I could bring a speaker to speak to him, I could send him a video, I can give him a Kiruv box, I could do something. And I think if we do that, a lot of things are going to change. Last thing I would say to you is this. If this was all a good idea, it would be nice, but nobody should feel obligated to do it. It's just a good idea. A lot of people have a lot of good idea. Everything that I'm saying is a Torah obligation. We have Ve'afta le'recha kamocha. We have an obligation to love a fellow Jew. We also have Ve'afta et hagel. You're obligated to love the convert. In fact, the Rambam says the convert, you have to love him more than a natural born Jew. You have to love him as much as you love HaShem. Third, we have Ve'afta et Hashem Elokecha. Now, to love your fellow Jew, we can understand. I love my brother. Yeah, good. To love a ger, Baruch Hashem, we can understand. But what does it mean to love Hashem? How do I express love to Hashem? What is Shema Yisrael with kavanah? How do you express love to HaKadosh Baruch Hu? There's no greater way to show a father that you love him by caring about his kids. Even if his kids don't look like you, even if his kids are from a different Chassidut or a different Keilah, or they're completely different Ashkafa, you're a Sephardi, they're Ashkenazi, or you're a Satmar, they're, Yaron Reuven from Florida, whatever it is. If a person wants to show HaKadosh Baruch Hu they love him, then he starts loving his kids. My recommendation for every single person that's here, make Kiruv, make helping other Jews a priority in your life. If you have the ability to talk to them, talk to them. If you don't have the ability to talk to them, send them my shiurim. My shiurim will talk to them. If they want something material, physical, you can get them one of these things. If you want to send them a link, they have internet, you could send them a link. There's a million different ways that we could wake up a lot of different people. And I think that if every single person that attended today says, you know what, I'm going to try with one guy. The whole year I'm going to try to spend to help this one guy. Guess what? Next time we come here, there's not going to be this amount of people. There's going to be 100 times more people. Why? Because each one of those people is not only going to be affected by what you did for them, by caring about them, but it's also going to be a domino effect, and they're going to want to do it for somebody else. And that's usually how Kiruv works. Once a person sees that somebody else cares about them, naturally, they're going to want to care about somebody else. Why? Because that's just the way nature is. That's the way our Am Yisrael is. If we see that somebody cares about us, then we see that it's good to care of other people, and we want to return it, and we're going to do the same exact thing. So Bezrat Hashem, this is something that I hope that some of the people here are going to take seriously, and maybe even do something about it. There's a lot of different ideas, and Bezrat Hashem, I'm hoping that somebody will take it to heart. But now I know that some of you have maybe have some questions. So b'chavod, you could ask any question. I'll be more than happy to answer. Usually when I turn off the cameras, there's usually 500 questions. So I'll try to pretend like that. Let's pretend I shut off the cameras. Questions? Everybody's lost questions. So if I turn off the cameras, that's when the questions are going to start. Yes.
In your video, you spoke about time and had a lot more money. Right?
Yes.
You ever miss the aspect of having a lot of money? Not the time, the life you're living, but the aspect of having a lot of money. You ever miss that?
As far as having material, mean, as far as having something, it's always nice to be able to buy whatever you need. And Baruch Hashem, that Kadosh Baruch Hu never lacked me any of that. So whatever I always needed, the Kadosh Baruch Hu sent it to me. Now, the needs changed. The focus changed, but the hand of Hashem never changed. So, Baruch Hashem, throughout all of the years, even after I lost everything, I never lacked anything. Certainly, there was a struggle. Certainly, it's very different to go from working and making $3,600 an hour just for existing to working for free 20 hours a day to a bunch of people that sometimes don't even appreciate what you do for them. So, it's definitely a big life change. From being the boss that creates the opinion to being somebody that people tell them, well, why are you even talking? So a lot of things have changed from that perspective. But the material aspect of it, Baruch Hashem, we always had a roof over our head. We always had food to eat, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu made many miracles along the way. That especially through the difficult times, that made me see His hand much more than I was able to see it if everything just continued coming in and flowing in. Now, the first several years of when I became a rabbi and after I lost, everything, those were some very, very difficult years because literally you had to live on a miracle from day to day. We just had a kid and we didn't have enough money to buy a crib. Didn't have money to have a crib. We didn't have money to pay rent. But every month, somehow, money would show up. My parents would send, or somebody else would send, and the money would come right in time. But what about the crib? And I also learned, once I had a kid, the cribs are really expensive. Apparently, they're not like, at the 99-cent store. They're expensive. So, okay, the kid's in the hospital. Just born, my daughter, God bless her. I have nothing prepared. All of a sudden, my friend calls me and says, listen, I heard you just had a kid. You need a crib? Somebody tapping my phones, the feds, something. It was yeah, sure, I'll take it. Sure, why not? Yeah, why? I was going to get one. Yeah, listen, I have this crib. It's just sitting in my garage, not doing anything. It's pretty much brand new. You need it? Yeah, sure, I'll come pick it up. He goes, no, I'll bring it to your house. Comes, brings it to the house, builds the whole thing. And these types of miracles start happening on a regular basis. Strangest things in the world would just happen, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu simply showed me, he's like, listen, I took the money, but I'm still here. And this continued. Baruch Hashem, after some time, going through some different tests, one time, I was invited to come to Canada. And to speak over there. And one of the people asked me, he's like, Rabbi, somebody said that you do this because of the money. And this is, again, there's like maybe 300 people there. He's saying this in front of me. He's like, you do this for the money. I'm like, oh, I do it for the money? Okay, let me show you my bank account. So I take my phone and say, hey, let's show you a bank account. We open the account. I'm like, oh, look, see. He goes, Rabbi, you have $750 in the account. I'm like, yeah, but look when it came in. It came in an hour ago, which means that until an hour ago, there was zero. So he says, so how do you live? I'm like, exactly like that. So in the beginning, this is how it was. It was miracle after miracle after miracle. But Baruch Hashem, after some time, we built the organization. More and more people got impacted by it. More and more people supported. HaKadosh Baruch Hu made even more miracles. And Baruch Hashem, throughout all of the years, I continue to see miracles. Nothing is lacking. If, from an outside perspective, nothing has changed. But the biggest thing that, when you ask me this question, the biggest thing that I can think of that would make things different is if I had another 20 or 30 million dollars in the bank right now, then I can magnify the effect of what we're doing. That's the only thing that would change. I wouldn't buy a private jet. I wouldn't buy a Ferrari. I wouldn't buy a fancy apartment in some town that I'm never going to visit. I wouldn't get a second home because I don't even have a first home. What I would do is I would use it to help the organization do much more than what it's doing. And that's because that's what we've been doing since day one. I put everything that I had into it, everything that was left into it, and until this day I haven't taken a salary. 12 years I've been working for free. So what would I do with more money? This magnified by, as much as we possibly can with more money. So instead of selling these things for $150, I could give them for free. Just like we've given out nearly 400,000 books for free. We published close to 50 books already over the last 12 years that Rabbi Ephraim has written. I have written a couple of them. He wrote the rest, so it kind of makes me look better. But we didn't just publish them and print them. We also gave them for free. So we have a live counter. There's a website called kiruvstore.org where you could order our books for free. Boxes of books, 15 to 20 books per box. And there's a live counter. Every time somebody orders a box, it goes up by another 20. And over there you'll see, I think at some point, I think now it's around 368,000 books been given for free. So just calculate. And each book, it's not like a pamphlet. It's not a pamphlet that costs like 40 cents. It's a book, like a sefer. You get an art scroll with the hardcover and everything else. That kind of book. Top quality books. And right now, we're in the process of printing 3 new books. Baruch HaShem. I just got the samples. They look good. We placed the order. There's 75,000 books on the way. So, Be'ezrat Hashem, more and more books are going to come. More and more books are going to be distributed. And aside from that, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us enough money also to give about 2.5 million USB CDs and all types of posters for free. Perhaps you've seen some of our Asher Yatzar posters on different walls. That's all free. Aside from those 2.5 million, we've also helped close to 251,000 poor Jewish people in Eretz Yisrael eat. Sometimes we actually gave them the food. Sometimes we gave them the card with money so they could buy the food. Sometimes both. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu provided. And so the beautiful thing is that if I had more, I could do more. But one thing I can tell you for sure is that just like we say in the Birkat HaMazon, Na ra'iti v'gam zakanti v'lo ra'iti tzaddik ne'ezav. I'm not a tzaddik, but I'm trying to be. All I can tell you is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu hasn't left. He's still there. He just gives different people different tests, whatever they can handle. And Be'ezrat Hashem, when he thinks that I can handle an extra 20 or 30 or 40 or $50 million or $50 billion in the bank, he'll send that to test me on that one. Until now, he's tested us in different ways. Now he's testing in this way. And Be'ezrat Hashem, we'll continue doing our best to pass the test. What else? Yes?
I don't know where to start the question, how to really formulate what I'm really going to ask, but the Jewish people, their mission in the world is to be a light.
Light to the nations. Okay.
Like helping ourselves, that's what we need helping, where there's a lot of us who are lost and we need help back. As far as for the rest of the world, was also the kind of the goal of being a light to the nations. And we have the Noahide laws where there's not really a lot of like direction or resources for the Noahides. And I was just wanted to ask your opinion on, is it more like, is our job still to just to focus on ourselves, or is that something that we're really going to help them?
Should we have a Noahide organization, in so many words? Okay, that's a good question. So, when we say we have to be Or LaGoyim, the Torah tells us and obligates us to be Or LaGoyim, that is not necessarily referring to we should go and teach the Goyim how to be better. Rather, it's initially referring to we should make ourselves better. Why? Because the better we are, the better we are sanctifying HaKadosh Baruch Hu's name. So we're making the Torah look better. The worse we are, the more we are making Chas v'Shalom a Chilul Hashem. So in fact, if you look at the pasuk that we read every single year about Zecher Amalek, when Rashi says over there on the place that why is the verse that talks about honest business right before the verse that talks about to remember Amalek, and Rashi says that's because every time a Jew is doing dishonest business, he's actually empowering Amalek. Which means that if we want to weaken Amalek, we should do the opposite. We should be honest in business. We should be ethical. We should have more yirat shamayim. We should do better. The better we become as Jews, the more better servants of Hashem we become, the more we are emulating Hashem, and the more we are in essence being a light to the nations. So our top priority is each person needs to work on themselves to improve themselves. Second priority is to help our fellow Jews. And the reason why is because your brother is your first. Your brother is, if you have to give tzedakah, for example, the tzedakah, the first tzedakah that you have to look at who needs is your own family. Even if you have a nice guy in the community that doesn't have much, and you have a choice, either your brother or the nice guy, you have to help your brother first. And even if, let's say, your brother doesn't need, but the nice guy, he needs, but there's also a famous, nice guy from a different town. If the first nice guy is in your town, you have to help him first. Meaning that we have to give to whoever is closest to us first. So since we're in a situation where nearly 80% of Am Yisrael right now is not aware of their obligation to keep Shabbat. 94% of American Jews have said that they do not believe that that you could not work on Shabbat. Like there's a very limited amount of understanding of what are a Jewish person's responsibilities in the world. So since we have so much to do with the Jewish people, our first priority is there. Now, if while you're helping Jews, there's also some non-Jews that happen to listen, that benefit from it also, Baruch Hashem, no problem. But to make, let's say, for example, a focused effort just on non-Jews is not what Da'at Torah is. This is, all of Gedolei Israel were aware that the vast majority of the world is non-Jews. But none of them ever spent much time teaching the non-Jews or writing books for the non-Jews. Why? Because we have so many problems at home that are not being taken care of, that there's not enough time to help the non-Jews and the Jews at the same time. Plus, more than that, really the best way to help the non-Jews is by starting at home. Because the better the Jewish people become, the better we become as an impact on the rest of the world. One of the places that the Jewish people learn their bad behavior is if they look at how the non-Jews treat each other. It's unfortunate, but it's a reality. For example, the Gemara says that the reason why lending money with interest as a business is forbidden for a Jewish person is because if he lends money to non-Jews with interest, then he's going to deal with them on a regular basis. And if he deals with them on a regular basis, he's going to be influenced from them on a regular basis, and then he's going to get further from Hashem. So, if he is going to lend money with interest, first of all, it has to be reasonable interest, and not like what they do in cash advance where they rip people off. It has to be something that's normal bank rates. But second of all, he has to do it to make just enough money to survive. Meaning, if he has, let's say, $2,000 a month in bills, that's what he's allowed to make from that business. He's not allowed to become rich from it. Why? Because if he's going to spend a lot of time in there, then he's going to end up being influenced by the public. So we see from there that our influence of the on the non-Jews starts by influencing ourselves. Now there are some organizations that have steered away from what Gedolei Israel have said, and they started what you call Noahide organizations. This is a mistake. And why is it a mistake? from my experience of helping thousands and thousands of Noahides. I have many Talmidim that are not Jewish, many people that I guide them, many people that I help, many people that support. I have no problem with it. Baruch Hashem, even in every shiur that I give, I always give a blessing to those Noahides that support, that are learning with us. But to have a specific organization just catered for Noahides is inventing a new religion. And that's one of the prohibitions on Noahides. Why? Because a Noahide that starts learning in such a fashion where he has organized learning like a Bachur Yeshiva. He has organized learning like a frum Jew, like a religious Jew. He's not going to be satisfied with it. Why? He wants more. Because now he's comparing himself to the Jew. The Jew is learning, he's learning. The Jew prays, I want to pray. The Jew has a siddur, I want a siddur. Yeah, but that's not the way it works. A Noahide is not supposed to have a siddur. The way that a Noahide is supposed to pray is from his heart. Why? Because our siddur was written by Anshe Knesset HaGdolah, and it's specifically customized for Am Yisrael. If a Noahide uses that siddur for themselves, they're lying in every prayer. Why? Because it says, blessed are you, Hashem, that you commanded me. He didn't command you. You're lying to Hashem. Thank you, Hashem, for giving me. He didn't give you. You're lying to Hashem. So what happens? These Noahide organizations, what they've done is initially they had a good intention to make like a center for the Noahides, but it was never enough. Because now the Noahides want more, because now they're competing. Now they're comparing themselves to the Jewish organization, saying, yeah, but they have a siddur, we want a siddur. They have this, we want this. And now some of them are already starting to wear talit, some of them are wearing tzitzit, some of them are wearing a kippah, some of them are even call themselves rabbi. There's one guy that I spoke to maybe 11 years ago. He used to be a priest, and he abandoned that idol worship, and he initially was intending to convert, but for whatever reason or another, he did not convert. And now, if you're going to be a rabbi, good, you can teach Chazak Baruch. If you're not going to be a rabbi, and you want to, let's say, for example, teach the non-Jews, go and teach the non-Jews. But he was happy with the fact that people thought of him as one way or another way, and the guy started teaching as if he's a real rabbi and he's not even Jewish. And the average person that's watching him can't tell. It's not like he has a tattoo on his head that says not Jewish. So what happens is that they start getting so confused with who and what they are. So 6 days a week, they act as if they're a Jew. On Sunday, sometimes they go to church, or sometimes they go to, I have one guy that's from, I think he's from Holland or one of the European countries, that he pretends to be a Jew 6 days a week, but on Sunday he goes to church with his wife. Why? Because what they're looking for is they're looking for structure, they're looking to feel religious, but they like the Jewish teachings. So it becomes a big mishmash. So when it comes to Noahides, they can learn Musar, character development in order to improve themselves, and that's where they should remain focused. Once they start steering away from that, it ends up becoming very confusing. They start inventing new laws, they start creating a new religion, and sometimes they end up becoming anti-Semites. And I'll give you a couple of examples of that I've seen from experience. Many times the Noahides, when they first start, their original goal is to become Jewish. And sometimes along the way, they come to the conclusion that they cannot convert, either because they lack money, or they're married to someone who doesn't want to convert, or all types of reasons that ends up happening, being an obstacle in their road that limits their ability to convert like they want to, or like they planned. And this creates a certain bitterness, like they did all this work, and they feel even more religious than some of the Jews they met, but they don't have the Neshama, or they don't have the title, they don't have the certificate, they don't have whatever it is that they were looking for, the way they visualize it. And guess what? They start hating on other Jews. And many times they become anti-Semitic. Other times, they start delving into different books that they're not allowed to go to according to the Torah, and they don't have the spiritual tools to handle those tools. So I'll give you an example that happened yesterday morning. There's one guy that has been watching my shiurim for several years. At some point or another, he wanted to convert. For whatever reason or another, he has not been able to. Then he got married, which became even more difficult. Long story short, he started delving into parts of the Torah that he should not be involved in at all. In fact, even most Jews should not be involved in. But he decided that he knows more than the Chachamim. He decided that everything is allowed because everything is available. All you got to do is press a button, it becomes available. You press a button, it shows up at your house. You give him some money, the book shows up. You press a button, you get it for free, you can download it. So he decided to delve into all types of things that he should not delve into. And yesterday morning, he sends me a message, Rabbi, I found a great chidush. The Arizal is an idol worshiper, and I can prove it through Gematria. No, thank you. I'm not interested for your proof. Your conclusion is wrong without me even knowing how you got to it. And you are exactly the proof of why Noahide should not learn anything more than Musar. And there are even some opinions that even that is limited. Why? In order to learn Torah, it's not about just having the ability to read. We're not reading philosophy. We're not reading a novel. It's not a Harry Potter book. There has to be certain spiritual tools that make you capable of understanding and applying the Torah that you're learning. So when you do not have certain tools, certain spiritual tools, you can read the same book as I do and have a completely different understanding. You can read the same book as your best friend and have a completely understanding. It's not because he's smarter or you're smarter. It's the more a person perfects their midot, the more a person humbles themselves, the more a person turns themselves into a vessel that says, my opinion is meaningless. I am nothing. The closer you are to knowing that you are nothing, the closer you are to becoming a vessel that will get something from HaShem. The more you think you are something and that your opinion is meaningful, the more you are closer to nothing that is not capable of receiving something from Shamayim. Why? Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu made the Torah like water. And the water, the Gemara says, it always goes to the bottom. It starts at the top of the mountain and it goes to the bottom. What does it mean it goes to the bottom? It goes to the most humble. Why? Because the Torah is not just words. The Torah is spiritual tools that will only fit a vessel that is prepared properly for it. So when somebody that is not supposed to learn Kabbalah, that is not supposed to learn different aspects of the oral Torah, decides they're going to do it anyway, then all they're doing is they're guaranteeing that there's going to be a dead-end street, that they're going to get to the wrong direction. And that's what happens many times, and I've seen this from experience. I even had one guy that you were reminding me of. I had one guy that I warned him. Really smart guy, really nice guy, spent some time in jail before I met him, did some stupid things. In jail, he discovered Judaism. Long story short, he wanted to convert, had a bunch of delays. Anyway, he started, he planned to convert, but he got married and there was some delays. But along the way, he started learning a lot. And at some point, I told him, listen, you're learning things you're not supposed to learn. You're learning things you're not supposed to learn. Don't learn it. It's not good for you. If you want to convert, learn the things that are relevant to conversion. If you're not going to convert, then stick with what I've said, which is what Gedolim Yisrael have said. He didn't want to listen. So one day he went home, after work, right before he decides to go inside the house, somebody decides to rob him. He doesn't want to give him the wallet. The guy shoots him in the stomach and he almost dies. After that, he stopped learning Torah. Why? Because he realized that this doesn't happen to just anybody. He wasn't living in some gangster neighborhood that these types of things happen. This was a message from Shamayim. There are certain things HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to give you with open arms. But there are certain things you're just not entitled to. You want to be entitled to it, you have to elevate yourself to it. And that's the mistake that people are making when they're looking at the Torah like a book and they're saying, listen, why can't you just teach this to everybody and teach the masses Kabbalah? Because the masses cannot handle Kabbalah. And anyone that says, I teach the public Kabbalah, either he doesn't know what Kabbalah is or something that's even worse. The reality is not everyone can learn every part of the Torah. And when you organize the Noahides as if it's an institution, as if it's a religion, it's only a matter of time before people are going to ask for more than what they started off with, because they're now organized, and they're going to compare themselves to something else that's organized. It's not an easy thing to be a Noahide, but it's not impossible either. You just have to stick to the script. And I think that the people that do will benefit the most. HaShem. What else? Yes?
So I'm noticing lately a lot of people are using marijuana as a way to connect to HaShem.
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard the Rav say many times the reasons why this is not allowed, but the Rav can just remind us.
So there are some people that work in the mafia, and they, right before they kill somebody, every Sunday they like to, they get 25,000 a head. They sometimes do the cross, they sometimes do a prayer, and they believe that they get closer to God right before they kill somebody. So just because somebody says they get closer to God by doing something stupid, doesn't really mean they get closer to God. And unfortunately, in the world of drugs, it's the same concept. There are sometimes people that call themselves rabbis. They have the beard, they have a nice hat, they have the whole garments. They look like they just came from Mount Sinai, but the Chassidus version even. And they tell people to do all types of drugs, hallucinogens, marijuana, all types of things to get you closer to HaShem. But this shows two things. Number one, they don't know anything about halacha. And number two, they're a drug addict themselves. That's what it shows. So if you want to learn from drug addicts, I have better institutions for you. There are institutions specifically made from drug addicts. You can just go learn from them. You don't need to learn from a rabbi. But if you want to learn from a rabbi, you want to learn from a real rabbi, you have to learn the basics of halacha. Rabbi Feinstein, alav shalom, said it multiple times, which is mentioned in the Gemara. Anything that alters your mind is not something that you're allowed to use if you're going to pray or talk to Hashem. Why? Because to be a servant of Hashem, you have to be tzalul, you have to be clear. You have to be clear-minded. You cannot have something that alters your state of mind and be someone that is even allowed to pray. So much so that he writes that a person that takes elective drugs, meaning he takes the drugs, he smokes marijuana because he feels like it, not because he has chas v'shalom some type of disease, and this is the only thing that there's that's going to help his pain. We're talking about someone that is enjoying it. Moshe Feinstein says a person that does that is considered in the same level as a ben sorer u'moreh, which the Torah says the ben sorer u'moreh would get a death penalty. So to say that someone is going to get closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu by taking drugs is like saying that, that, like I said, you could go learn from drug lords. You could learn from junkies. This is not what the Torah is. Now, emotional? Learning 4 hours straight also will get you more emotional. The Satan will try to convince you that there's a shortcut to anything. He could tell you there's a shortcut to become rich. He could tell you there's a shortcut to get married. He could tell you there's a shortcut to a lot of different things, but anyone that's lived long enough knows that all of those shortcuts are dead ends. If smoking marijuana or doing any type of drug was something that would be allowed, then they would say it's allowed. They would say even that Moshe Rabbeinu smoked a joint in Mount Sinai. They would say that Aaron HaKohen took some ecstasy pills right before he did the Birkat Kohanim. But it doesn't say that. Why? Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't want to alter your state of mind, because what he wants is you, not an altered version of you. He wants the Rachmana libabae. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants your heart, not the heart that is manipulated through chemicals that got to some place that the Satan makes you think like as if you got to Hashem. Because if a person really cries to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, really tries to get closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, they're going to get to a much higher level. They don't need drugs to do it. They don't need help. HaKadosh Baruch Hu did not create the Torah in a way where you need anything to help you get there. That's why Moshe Rabbeinu says in Sefer Dvarim, Lo b'shamayim, the Torah is not in heaven, it's not on top of the mountain, it's not across the ocean. Where is it? It's b'picha u'b'levavcha la'asoto. It's in your mouth, it's in your heart to fulfill it. HaKadosh Baruch Hu made the Torah so easy that anyone can get there. You don't have to be a big rabbi. You don't have to be the biggest tzaddik. Any Jew can get to HaKadosh Baruch Hu without anything that's going to help them. All you're going to do is simply give your heart, try, pray, cry, and you'll get there. But the ones that tell you that you need some type of drug to get closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu are simply manipulating the truth in order to apparently start a very successful drug dealing business or drug counseling business or both. Some people have the rehab, some people have the next door to the drug dealer. And we have actually in Florida, there's some junkie from Canada. He decided that he caused enough damage in Canada, so he decided to open a center in North Miami Beach, where a bunch of frum Jews come to get high and pretend like they're religious. Now, I've spoken against it, but apparently the rest of the community that lives over there doesn't think there's anything wrong with it. So it's not a problem that's just in there. It's not just a problem that's here. It's an hashkafa problem. People are not aware of what we're even doing in this world and how to do it. So I think that if people are looking for legitimate answers, they should not look for someone that is creating a new direction. We have to stick to the Masoret. We have to stick to what worked for Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Moshe, Yaron, David, Shlomo, all the tzaddikim. What they used is what we want to use because that's what kept us alive. All these new directions, these new ways, this is not what kept Am Yisrael alive. This to say that we need drugs to connect to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to me, it just sounds like it's like we should learn Musar from Nazis. Like, as far as that is from the reality, this is as far from reality. So I don't understand. I don't understand how that Satan convinced people, but unfortunately, the Satan works in unusual ways that he could convince people to do the exact opposite of what they're supposed to. Anything else? Same price. Same price. The questions? Yeah, Chabad. Same price, 2 for 1.
A lot of times we hear something in a shiur, we learn something,
Yeah.
and it gives us a very strong Chizuk.
Yeah.
We want to do more and help more. Slowly it fizzles out.
Okay.
And even more than that is we convince ourselves that any negative reaction to that fizzling out is really just the Yitzhar telling me that I'm a bad person and since I'm doing Teshuvah, I'm really a good person. So how do we keep that Chizuk alive to continue growing on the path of Teshuvah versus just starting something and then letting it fizzle out and tricking ourselves that we're still on the correct path?
Okay, so first of all, it's very, very important for a person to understand when they're trying to get closer to HaShem, they will have failures on the way to success. Failure is not an option, it's an inevitability. Everyone fails on the way to the top. So failure does not automatically mean bad. Failure is simply a necessary part of success. Whether it's in business, in marriage, in raising kids, in getting closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, every aspect, in learning Torah, failure is part. So don't ever think that just because I failed in something that I was trying to do, therefore I'm bad. No, it's just simply, this happens, you fell, get up, try again. You fell, get up, try again. That's it's a necessary part of success. So failure, first and foremost, failure does not mean bad. Failure does not mean evil. Failure is something that happens on the way to success. Now, the difference between the successful person versus the failure is the successful person failed on the way to success, and the failure fell and decided he's going to stay laying down. He decided that, okay, I'm a loser. I'm just going to stay a loser. Now, every person, when he was a kid, fell down. Fell on the floor. He tried to climb the little tree, fell. What'd you do? You got up. Now, even after you fell 5 times, no kid ever said, you know what? I fell 5 times and said, I'm staying here for the rest of my life. No one does that. Everyone gets up at some point. So the same concept with this. Same concept with Avodat Hashem. You fell, get up again. That's, in essence, in order to succeed, you have to simply push yourself to keep getting up. Now, as far as getting impacted by shiurim in a positive way and keeping that impact, a chizuk is like spiritual fuel to the neshama. But just like your car, whether it's a Tesla or it's a regular fuel, the energy doesn't last forever. At some point, you need a recharge. At some point, every neshama needs a recharge. That's why there's daily musar that's necessary. That's why there's daily chizuk that's necessary. That's why the Gemara says there's certain things that always need chizuk. There's always need chizuk. One of them is to learn more about bitachon. One of them is to get more chizuk every day. Musar is necessary every day. Sometimes you need an hour, sometimes you need 15 minutes, sometimes the whole day. Sometimes you need 20 minutes. Every day is different, but you have to get chizuk on a regular basis. Now, out of, let's say, my average shiur that I usually give is about 2 hours. I don't think that any one of my students is going to do everything that I said, or even 10% of what I said in the shiur. The goal of every shiur is to, generally speaking, give you the inspiration, and you take one thing out of that entire shiur and say, I'm going to try that. I'm going to do that. And tomorrow you do it. And you do it until the next shiur, which is a couple of days later. And guess what? In the next shiur, you got another 2 hours of fuel. And you say, that one thing, I'm going to do that. Yeah, but I have the other thing. Okay, so I'll just do both. And you start doing both. And before you know it, one of them got a little stronger, one of them got a little weaker. But by the time you were confused, which one, what am I going to do? I didn't do this one good. I'm not good enough. Another shiur came. So you got another one thing. And that's the thing. That's why you constantly need chizuk. And that's why it's very, very important for a person to keep getting chizuk from the same source. The Baal Shem Tov speaks about, he calls it the tzaddik. He says there's a tzaddik that has fruits and there's a tzaddik that doesn't have fruits. The one that tzaddik that doesn't have fruits, he learns for himself, by himself. So he doesn't have any fruits. Then there's a tzaddik that's like a tamal. He has like a figs. They have delicious taste. What is that? That's a tzaddik that has fruits. So he learns to also teach, to also have students, to also have those students become teachers, and so on and so forth. He has fruits, he has books, he has so on. So what your goal is to be that, to keep getting closer and closer to that. Whether it's going to be your direct success that's going to help somebody do teshuvah, or it's going to be the results of your effort that somebody else is going to succeed. But either way, you keep going and you keep growing. And the more a person connects to the source that's giving them chizuk without starting to go right or left, the more the fuel keeps going in the right direction. A lot of times what people make a mistake on is the Rabbi Nachman of Breslov says, similar to what the Baal Shem Tov said about tzaddikim, but he says that sometimes a person doesn't realize that the tzaddik that HaShem sent a person, it's not just any tzaddik, but if that tzaddik was able to impact his neshama, that means that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, in his chesed, in his mercy for that person, he gave you a specific connection, which means that even if you find a different tzaddik, even if you find 500 other tzaddikim, and they're all great, but they won't be custom made for your neshama like the first one. Why? That one has a direct line from, in Shemaim, from his neshama to your neshama, that the Torah is going to impact you the most that way. So even if you listen to 500 other ones, none of them are going to be able to have the same impact on your neshama. So many times people, they fall for the Satan's mistake, for the Satan's trap, where they say, listen, I've been listening or reading these books for 5 years. Let me try something else. And then they find themselves a year later, 2 years later, much weaker, much further from HaShem than they were a couple of years ago. Even though they continued reading, even though they continued listening, but just something else. Just this morning, somebody asked me, Rabbi, I need some guidance. I feel like I'm much weaker now. I feel like this, like in a negative way. I said, okay, so what happened? He goes, I don't know. I'm asking you. I said, okay, so when was the last time you felt good? He said, 4 months ago. And I said, okay, so 4 months ago, are you listening to as many shiurim of mine today as you were 4 months ago? He goes, no, tell you the truth, Rabbi, no, I kind of stopped. I'm like, okay, so that's your answer. If until 4 months ago, you've been watching them for a year, 2 years, 3 years, it helped you, it restructured your life, you became happy, you became successful, everything was working good. and then you decide to press the stop button. Now it's not working. What do you expect? It goes on autopilot? I mean, after all, I'm not a Tesla, guys. Coming soon. But the reality is, Chizuk is necessary all the time. That's the way it works in the Torah. And a person has to know that the Chizuk never has an end. You're going to need it every day. Every day. And Baruch Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu in His mercy made Torah more accessible today than any other generation, because today, it's not like in the old days. When they listened to Moshe Rabbeinu speak, that was a one-time speech. He's not repeating it. Today, if you like this shiur, you can listen to it tomorrow on YouTube. You can listen to it the next day. You can listen to it every single day for the rest of your life. Why? Because it'll be available. So books are available. Videos are available. There's a lot of things that are available, which means that the Torah is always going to be available for a person that's actually looking for it. Just don't fall for the trap of the Yetzer Hara that's trying to get you to go in a different route, and we're pretending that that's a better route. If there's one thing that's working, don't fix what's not broken. Any questions from the women's side? Usually women have questions that are better than the men, but today hopefully they didn't fall asleep behind the mechitza. Anything else? Anybody else?
Who is your rabbi?
My rabbi is Rabbi Ephraim Kachlon. Rabbi Ephraim Kachlon, he also happens to be my cousin, but I didn't know he even existed until I met him. And he's the one that helped me do Teshuvah. He's the one that I've been learning with every single day since I started. He is, for anyone who doesn't know, he's an extraordinary Talmid Chacham. He's Av Bedin in Yerushalayim. He gives shiurim every single day. He's written over 50 books by now. Halacha books, responses, Parashat Shavua, Shas, Kabbalah, pretty much every topic across the spectrum of the Torah. He's Baruch Hashem, he's not only someone that has taught me Torah, but is someone that guides me on a day-to-day basis. There's nothing that I do without asking him first what he thinks, yes or no, good or not, and there's no limitation. This goes from everything from personal to teaching, to students, to everything else. Even if I know the answer. Even if there's somebody asks me an halachic question, or somebody asks me a specific question, I tell him, listen, this is the question, I think this is the answer, am I right or am I wrong? And the reason why is because I know different parts of my own Yetzer Hara, and I know what I need. And therefore I know that one of the things that I need is I need to not trust myself. I need to always humble myself to Da'at Torah and never rely on just my own opinion. Because once you start relying on your own opinion, there's no limitation of how far that can go in the wrong direction. So I always want to make sure that whatever I do, whatever I say, whatever I quote in the shiurim, everything has a backing behind it. And that's why also, anytime somebody tells me that they don't like what I say, I said, well, your problem is not with me. Your problem is maybe with the Rambam, or the Balei Tosfot, or maybe with Rashi, or maybe you have a problem with Rabbi Shmuel Bar Yochai, or Rabbi Akiva is Rabbi. Maybe you even have a problem with Moshe Rabbeinu. Your problem is definitely not with me, because everything that I'm bringing you is from them. So when I learn with him, one of the things that I always ask him is to always show me the sources, because it's not only that I learn from him where something specific is, but I also try to learn around it. What's before it, what's after it, if I could add to it, if I could bring some more color to certain things, explanations and so on. But this is, Baruch Hashem, what's worked in the last 12 years of teaching. And I think that, again, if it wasn't for that, I would still be on Wall Street. I would still be on Wall Street trying to break my head and be the next billionaire. Yeah. Yes?
Ask a question.
Fine.
We see from the story of Yitro that HaShem did not give the Torah to Sinai.
Repeat that again?
We see from the story of Yitro,
Yeah.
Rabbi's father-in-law,
Yeah.
that HaShem did not give the Torah until Yitro came to Mount Sinai.
Right.
So, and you said earlier
somebody who converts is on a higher level than somebody who's born.
Mhm.
You're supposed to love him like you love Hashem.
Mhm.
So, wouldn't it make sense for a father just to let their kids, let's say, could an argument be made like, if Yitro is on a higher level, so would you make an argument to a parent to say to him, let your kids go to public school and let them choose, just like Yitro. He was a priest, gave everything up, and Hashem said, this is the guy. He gave everything up and he came to me. He wasn't born into it.
Right. Well, the thing
Hashem
is,
says, this is who I am. So, and in fact, that's what Yitro said to Moshe.
no, Vayishma, the parasha
Moshe
Yitro.
didn't give his son a brit.
No, he didn't give it. He didn't give his son a brit on the 8th day because he thought that it was going to be a sakana. It was going to be a danger to give a brit milah in the middle of the desert, which it was a danger. But Hashem did not punish him for not giving him a brit milah on the way. What he punished Moshe Rabbeinu on was that once they stopped at a certain motel and Moshe Rabbeinu didn't give him a brit milah right away, that's when Hashem punished him, and that's why Tzipporah had to save his life. Meaning that Moshe was right for not giving his son a brit milah while they're on the way, because it was a life danger to do it, but he was wrong for delaying it once they stopped. The same concept also with when it comes to Yitro, there's a machloket among Chachamim of whether Yitro came before Matan Torah or after Matan Torah. The Ramban has an opinion that's different than Rashi. Some say that the Torah is in chronological order, where Yitro came after Matan Torah, and some say that it came before it. Either way, Yitro was a unique Neshama because Yitro went through the world of Avodah Zarah. He was the priest, he was the pope, he was a lot of different things, and he was also a man that was looking for the truth. So every time he found that something was not true, he went to something else. Now, when it says Vayishma Yitro, Yitro heard. What did he hear? He heard all of the miracles that HaKadosh Baruch Hu did for Am Yisrael, but to him, it was different to hear it than everybody else. Why? Because Yitro, before he became a pope in Midian, he was one of the 3 advisors of Paro. Paro had 3 advisors. One of them was Yitro, one of them was Bilam, and one of them was Job. Now, Paro asked these advisors, what should we do with these Israelites because they're becoming such great a number? Yitro said, leave them alone. They're doing good for you. Yosef HaTzadik is the one that built Egypt. Bilam said, kill them. Enslave them, kill them, and so on, destroy them. Job stayed silent. So after it was concluded that Paro is going to go with Bilam's opinion, Yitro had to flee. He had to run away. And Job was also had to leave, but Hashem punished him or tested him in such a way that he had to suffer for a year with all the different tests that Job had. Now, since Yitro was not of the opinion of Bilam, he knew that it's wrong to torment the Jewish people. So after all of those years that Paro tormented the Jewish people, and then Hashem brought the salvation, and part of the salvation was the 10 plagues. And each plague was specifically given as a measure for measure punishment on the Egyptians for doing something evil to the Jews. And on top of that, HaKadosh Baruch Hu also split the ocean and drowned the Egyptians. When it says Vayishma Yitro, Yitro knew the whole story from before. He knew all of what the Egyptians did to the Jewish people, and he saw how Hashem punished them with exactly what they did to the Jewish people as a measure for measure. So as soon as he saw that, he says, Vayishma Yitro, he heard, and he realized there is no other God. Not only that Hashem is the greatest of everything, but there is nothing else that could give such a precise punishment as for what they did. Now, he at that point gave up everything, went and converted to Judaism, joined his daughter, which was the wife of Moshe Rabbeinu, and he didn't stop there. Later on, he decided to go back to Midian and to convert the rest of his family, and he only joined Am Yisrael after 40 years, when they were already at Eretz Yisrael, where he brought 100,000 of his family members that were all, at a level where they were all practicing Judaism, and the Chachamim say that his descendants got to a level where they all got to Ruach HaKodesh. So they became extremely righteous people. Now, as far as the second part of your what you said, as far as why not send our people, our kids, to public school and let them choose for themselves. Now, the Rambam writes that regardless of who you are, regardless of where you were brought up, regardless of how a person, how smart or how foolish a person is, they will be impacted by their surroundings. Meaning, if you live among Chinese people, after a while, you're going to be influenced by those Chinese people. If you live among Jewish people, after a while, you'll be influenced by those Jewish people. If you live among criminals, after a while, you'll be influenced by those criminals. That's just a reality. Which means that if a Jewish person, sends their children to a public school, where the majority of the kids are not Jewish, and could very well be practicing all forms of idolatry. And even more so when they see Jewish people there, those Jewish people are not religious at all. They're not saying Shema Yisrael every single day. They're not keeping Shabbat. They're not keeping, which means those kids that are in that public school are going to be the influence on that kid. Why would you want to do that if you want your kid to serve Hashem? I went to public school. It wasn't exactly a positive influence because if the Jewish people's ultimate goal is to educate their kids to serve Hashem, then they have to do everything possible to keep them on that path and to limit the influences from society, because who says that we're allowed to take risks with Jewish neshamot like a gamble? Let him pick. Why should I just let him pick? He doesn't know what's right or wrong yet. He's just a kid. The whole job of a parent, regardless of whether it's a Jewish or a Gentile parent, the whole job of a parent is to make decisions on behalf of their child for their child's best interest, because the child does not know enough to know what their best interest is yet. You did not know as much about what you know today when you were 8 years old. You did not have the ability and the knowledge to make the right decisions at 10 years old. Why? Because you didn't have experience. So this is something that the parent is responsible for, to make the decisions on behalf of their children, because they have the experience. And on top of that, the Chachamim, the Jewish sages throughout history have given us the knowledge of what the right decision is to make, which means that even if the parent himself doesn't know what the right choice is, they could ask a Talmid Chacham, what's the right choice? Talmid Chacham says, this is what's written, this is what we do, and this is what we do. Why? Because we know that's the right choice. So we help the kids by directing them in the right direction. Okay.
A tragic example of this is bringing up kids into a secular environment in the school and saying what gender you are.
Okay, so that's another thing that we have as an addition to the disaster, is that when I was a kid, if somebody started smoking, all the parents in the neighborhood says, don't hang out with that kid. Why? He's a 9-year-old kid or 10-year-old kid that's smoking cigarettes. Don't hang out with him anymore. Why? Because at that time, it was still not accepted for a 10-year-old kid or 11-year-old kid to smoke. If that was later on, if somebody did drugs or if somebody had a girlfriend, all types of different things, all the parents, more or less, it was like a small world. Everyone knew who was doing what, who was doing not. Today, it's a very different world. Today, kids go to school, and sometimes the teachers convince the boy that he's not really a boy, but he's a girl. And sometimes they bring a new teacher who pretends to be a girl, but it's really a boy dressed as a girl, or vice versa. Today, there's the education in the public school system in America is bottom of the barrel, to such a point that many of the non-Jews have stopped sending their kids to public school, to the point where homeschooling has become more widespread among the non-Jews than ever in history, because they're so unhappy with what's happening with the public schools. So to send any boy to a public school today in America is taking a risk. The first risk is an ideological risk where you could send your kid to a school as a boy, he could come back thinking he's a girl. You could send her as a girl, she could come back thinking she's a boy. That's number one. Number two, America has gotten to the point where the amount of mass school shootings we have in America today, on the average, is 1 every 2.5 days. 1 every 2.5 days. Not all of it gets reported on TV, but the statistic is that 1 every 2.4 days, which means there's a lot of schools, but every parent has to think, maybe today is the day that there's a public school shooting in that school. So it's a very serious risk. As far as safety is concerned, it's not exactly safe. And why? Because again, it's a different environment, different ideology. Third and most important, for a Jewish person to send his kids to a public school, the Me'am Loez writes 300 years ago, is considered as if the Jewish person has sent their kids to an idol, as if they brought a sacrifice to Molech. He makes this equivalent to idolatry. Why? Because when you're sending your kids to public school, you're sending them to get miseducated. They're not getting educated, they're getting miseducated. They're being educated that we came from some amoeba. They're getting educated that the world is zillions of years old and the Torah is just a fairy tale. They're getting educated in things that are foreign to the Torah, that are the opposite of the Torah, that are heretical according to the Torah. So they're getting educated to think that we came from monkeys. I remember one day I came back from school and I was 10 years old and I told Ima, do you know we came from monkeys? She looks at me, she goes, what are you talking about? She goes, that's what I learned today. We came from monkeys. Ima, you used to be a chimpanzee. She almost gave me a slap that I'm like, what are you talking about? I told her, that's where I look. I showed her the book. This is nonsense. We came from HaShem. Sure, a serious Torah scholar. And I continued having and developing those questions for many years. I did Teshuvah years later. But guess what? What an average parent thinks is not going to influence their kid is going to influence their kid a lot more than they think. A little cartoon that tells kids that the world is 13.5 billion years old and it all started from some amoeba that after meiosis or mitosis, it split into two and eventually turned into some lizard that became a parrot, that became a monkey, that became a dinosaur, that became a cat, become a bear, and at some point decided to become a human with 2 legs, but then he decided being a human is difficult, so he became a monkey again. All that nonsense, guess what? That cartoon is going to influence that boy, and he's going to be confused until someone puts some real wisdom into that affects him. Why? Because he's always going to have doubts. He's always going to have doubts. Why? Because sometimes it sounds real. Sometimes it sounds like it's legit. Sometimes it makes sense. Sometimes the lie is so good, it sounds better than the truth. And that's what the Gemara says in Masechet Shabbat. Sheker lo chai. The sheker, the lie, it doesn't live unless it has a little bit of truth in it. A little bit of truth in it, then it has life. If it's 100% false, it can't live. So how could, for example, evolution, something that is very widespread and a lot of people believe in it, how could that be, what's the truth in it? The Gemara in Masechet Chagigah, page 12a, says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, before he created the world, there was just him, Enod Milvado. Then he created a point and he expanded it. And he roared, and that point continued expanding until he roared at the heavens and said, Dai. And that's why we call him El Shakai, because he's the God that said Dai, that said enough. And that's also when we say that Yirat Shamayim, fear of heaven. Why do we say fear of heaven? Why don't we say fear of God? Why don't we say something else? Because the first thing to fear Hashem is the heavens. He roared at it and it stopped expanding. So the difference between the Big Bang and what our Gemara says is they both say it started from a point and it expanded. What's the difference? The difference is two things. Number one, according to the Big Bang, the world continued to expand. According to the Torah, it stopped expanding because God said stop. Second point of difference, Big Bang does not have an explanation of what that first point came from. Where did it come from? We don't know. We do know. It came from God. He created that first point. So you see, every lie has a little bit of truth in it. But if you send a kid to the Ze'evim, to the wolves of the public school system, how do you expect him to survive? He doesn't have the tools. So what is he going to do? He's going to believe that we came from monkeys. He's going to believe that today he's a boy, tomorrow he's a girl, and next week maybe he's even a dragon. There was a girl that made a video of herself, and she was asking the community to help her. What was the help she was asking? She said, it's very difficult for me to be a dragon because when I fly, my wings get wet when it's raining. What do you other dragons do? What does the community of dragons do when it rains and your wings get wet? And this girl said it with all seriousness. She believes she's a dragon and that her wings are wet and she has a problem in life, that her wings are wet. This is public school education. And guess what? This girl was a teacher. She wasn't even a student of public school. She was a teacher in public school. So if you want to send your kids to such a thing, it's better off not to have kids. Have a pet instead. It's easier. Anyone can tell him he came from an amoeba or anything else. The dog is going to be fine. But if you want to have your kids go in the right direction, don't send them to public school, because in today's society, public school is a danger to everyone, both Jews and Gentiles. It's not a healthy place. Yes, Chabad. Yeah.
You taught that the reason Yaakov got the Bechor is because Leah cried so much, she davened to HaShem, that HaShem answered her prayers.
Yes.
He gave the Bechor to Yaakov. And so much so that it says that she had droopy eyes. People in the neighborhood would say, wow, she cries so much, she's going to marry Esau. She was sad over it.
Right.
So the question is, if everybody in the community knew, why was Yaakov so surprised when he married her? Because she was sad, she cried, Hashem answered her prayer. If he got the Bechor, and she was supposed to marry the Bechor, so why was he so surprised when he married her? Why such a strong reaction from him?
Because the original deal was for Rachel.
Yeah, but he got the Bechor, and she didn't want to marry Esau.
It's not a matter of what she wants. Right, no, but that's the thing.
So what is she going to do?
So it's just, this is like this. For example, if you went into a business deal and he said, listen, I'm going to give you $5 million for this building. And the guy says, sure, no problem. We'll give you the lawyers, the documents, wire the transfer. Everything is good. You wire the money. You sign the documents. You go to the building and you try to open it and it doesn't work. And the security guard says, sir, what can I help you with? Oh, I bought this building. No. This is not this building. You got the one from behind, because the one from behind, that's the one we're going to be developing. It's going to be much better. It's prettier. It has better view. It has better apartments. Whatever excuse he's going to give you, you're going to say, yeah, but that's not what I agreed to. Even if you say it's better, even if you say it's nicer, even if you say this building has been praying for me, that's not what I agreed to when I signed the documents. When Yaakov spoke to Lavan, he said, I want to marry your younger daughter. I want to marry Rachel. And Lavan, that's what he agreed to. And so when there was a surprise later on, it wasn't necessarily that Yaakov hated her or didn't like her or anything like that, or thought that she wasn't righteous enough. Is that the original agreement was one thing and Lavan tricked him. Now, Rachel tried to warn Yaakov that her father is a liar and her father is going to try to trick him. And he says, I'll be a brother to him, meaning that just like he is a liar, I'll be a liar just like him. I'll fool him too. And that's why I'll give him conditions that he's not going to be able to fool me. I'm going to say, I want your daughter, your youngest daughter, the little daughter. So he only has one younger one, one little one. There's twins. Yaakov, in his wildest dreams, never thought that Lavan is just simply, he's not going to, trick him. He's simply going to outright change the deal. He's simply going to not do what they agreed on. Not even in a way of manipulating things. He says, listen, whatever you wanted, that's great that you wanted it, but that's not our custom. Our custom is to marry the older daughter first. Yeah, but what about our agreement? He goes, oh, well, if you want to do that agreement, you could just work for me for another 7 years and I'll give you the other one too. Meaning, I'll give you what you want, but you have to take this one first. So it's the manipulation that Yaakov expected from Lavan was not enough. Lavan was even more tricky, more corrupt, more wicked than what Yaakov expected, and this did not end there. Even after 20 years of working for him, when Lavan accused him of stealing from him and so on, Yaakov said, you changed the deal that we had as far as money over 100 times. Meaning, imagine working for somebody and he changes your salary 100 times, because every time he changes the deal, HaShem makes it successful, so he changes the deal to try to make it less successful. He sees it successful again, he changes it again. 100 times he changed the deal. So the level of corruption that came from Lavan was even a surprise to Yaakov. Hashem runs the world as far as the conclusions, but a person still chooses what they're going to do. Meaning, the Gemara says, "Akol midei shamayim chutz mirat shamayim." Everything is from heaven except the fear of heaven, which means that Hashem allows us to make the choice. If you decide to jump, you can jump. If you decide to sit, you'll sit. If you decide to pray, you can pray. If you decide to give tzedakah, you'll give tzedakah. You can choose what you want to do. What Hashem decides is what's going to be the outcome. Meaning, if you jump, Hashem is going to decide how high it's going to be. Hashem is going to decide how you're going to land. If you decide to sit, Hashem is going to decide how comfortable the chair is going to be. If you decide to pray, Hashem is going to decide if you're going to have distractions during that prayer. If you decide to give tzedakah, Hashem is going to decide how much fruit is going to come out of the tzedakah that you give, meaning how much good results will come out as a result of your tzedakah. So you decide what to do, Hashem decides the results. Because if Hashem would have decided what to do for you, then it would not be fair for him to reward or to punish us. Because if he decides whether you're going to punch somebody in the face or not, why would he punish you? If he decides whether you're going to steal or not, why would he punish you for stealing? Or why would he reward you for not stealing? So you have the ability to choose what to do. Hashem will choose what the outcome is going to be. So that's what everything is from heaven, except the fear of heaven. That's what that means. Yes?
What is the best way to give love, to show little kids love to Hashem?
To show little kids love to Hashem? First and foremost is to never think that the kid is too young to learn about Hashem. Okay? You can start at the beginning. It's very easy. The kids are like a sponge. Everything that you teach them, they're going to learn, they're going to enjoy it, they're going to like it, they're going to believe it. So if you tell them stories about tzaddikim, the best thing, Rabbi Nachman of Breslov says that the best thing that you could learn is stories about tzaddikim, if you want to learn about the ways of Hashem. Because when you hear the stories of tzaddikim, you see how Hashem runs the world and how he makes miracles for this tzaddik, or how he helps this poor person, all different things. You see how Hashem runs the world. So when kids learn these types of stories, they develop a special, not only a special connection with Hashem, but a special belief in Hashem's awesomeness. So that's one way that you can teach them how to love Hashem, from the stories of tzaddikim. If your kids watch something on the internet, we have a channel called BH Kids, where we turn different stories that I've said during lectures and different stories from the Torah into little cartoons, into little 5-10 minute cartoons, where they can watch these cool stories. And Baruch Hashem, a lot of parents say this is great for their kids, and some adults say it's great for them too. They like cartoons also, they're just bigger. But the point is that there's a lot of good stuff that you could teach your kids from those stories. That's the first thing. Second thing is to show them by example. a kid is going to be a replica of you. So if he sees that before you, let's say for example, before you wanted to drink, you said a blessing that's barely legible. It's so quick that no one even knows whether you mumbled or you blessed. So guess what? He's going to learn the same way. But if he sees that you're blessing, where you're breaking the blessing into three, Baruch atah Hashem, Elokeinu melech haolam, shakon yamidvaro, or borei pri ha'etz, or whatever the blessing is, he sees that you have a little bit of patience for that blessing, he's going to learn to do the same thing and not swallow his words, because he's going to learn that this has meaning, this has significance, that right now, I'm thanking Hashem for giving me something to drink. I'm thanking Hashem for giving me food. So teaching them how to bless. And in general, leading by example is how they see you treat the Torah and learning Torah. If they see that you make it special, if they see that you make Shabbat special, if they see that every mitzvah you do, even if it's giving tzedakah, let's say for example, you want to give $5 to the shul, and you say, you give it to your kid, here, you're going to give tzedakah today. You give the kid the $5, come on, put it in the tzedakah box. Guess what? He's going to think this is the greatest thing in the world. He's going to want to give money away all the time. Why? Because he remembers it when he was 5 years old. He had, the first time he ever held a $5 bill was that. He's going to want to do chesed for the rest of his life. So the more excited you are about mitzvot, the more excited he or she is going to be about mitzvot. And it's and the more they connect to the mitzvot that way, the more they're gonna start asking you questions about Hashem. Why should I do this? Why should I do Shema Yisrael? Why should I wear a kippah? All of the, and you have to have either the answers or a way to get the answers from either shiur, from Rav, or wherever it is, to give him the answers for questions. Because the worst thing that a kid could have is questions with no answers.
How is as generations get more and more open-minded and see more stuff? What are like kids gonna look like in 20 years from now?
Judaism in the past was something that we should do because following the Torah is going to get us to Gan Eden, and not following the Torah gets us to Gehenom. In our generation, Judaism is not just for the sake of Gan Eden and Gehenom. Judaism today, living a life of Torah today, is simply a survival of the human race. Because the people that are going with the Torah and following the Torah, they at least have a direction of what it's still like to be a human being, a decent human being. The further people become from the Torah, the further they become from acting like human beings. You see how people behave. Like I said, a guy thinks he's a girl, the girl thinks she's a boy. Some people think they're dragons, some people think they're angels. Every other day someone thinks he's Mashiach. There's a lot of craziness happening in the world. So in the world today, you have to, on one end, understand that technology is not going away. So to just simply shut our eyes from everything and pretend like it doesn't exist is not possible for most people. On the other hand, we can't just accept everything with open arms. So every responsible parent that wants to show their kids, let's say, for example, videos, has to take the time to check it for themselves. So if it's a Torah video, for example, you have to make sure it's really a Torah organization and not a missionary organization that calls itself Torah. Because there's a lot of Christians out there that pretend to be Jews, and they say that they're also teaching Torah, but in reality, their agenda is always to teach about Yoshke. So every parent can't just put their kids on some YouTube channel and hope for the best. The parents have to take the time to double check what their kids are watching. Because to just say, listen, my kid is never going to use technology is not a reality, especially not in America. So a parent has to understand that you have to, adapt to the environment to a certain extent, but not accepting everything and we're going to be just like everybody else. Everything with step by step, with concern, with worry, with double checking and triple checking. Even I told a parent earlier today that even a lot of parents have become very comfortable with sending their kids to camps. Don't be so comfortable just sending your kid to any camp. Double check who's the counselor. Double check who's the rabbi. Double check who's there. Why? There are too many horrible stories that come to me after they already happen of what happened to this kid or that kid in the camp or in different places where instead of going to a camp and having a good time, the kid got a trauma for the rest of his life. So to just putting our kids on autopilot and just sending them wherever, hoping that it's going to work out, that's the last thing that people can do. Don't treat your kid like people, drive Teslas where it drives by itself. You have to be involved. You have to be connected. Third thing is, try to maintain some type of healthy conversation with your kids on a regular basis. Even if it's if it's a mother once a day, if it's a father at least once or twice a week, to talk to them, to see what's going on in their life. What are they thinking? What are they not thinking? What they're happy about? What they're not happy about? See that your kid is still healthy. Not just he goes to shul and he has a kippah on and he wears tzitzit, but to see that the kid is okay. Why? Because sometimes if the kids stop talking to the parents for an extended period of time, they develop this discomfort. They feel like if they're going to talk to their parents, they're bothering them. So continue talking to your kid. Why? Because the world around them is changing much more rapidly than it changed when you were a kid. And we had certain tools to deal with it that our kids don't have. We had certain struggles that our kids don't have. I had to start working when I was 10 years old. B'ezrat Hashem, my kids will never even think of such an idea. Why? It's a different reality. It's a different world. To tell it, the way you look at it is that how the generations have changed just in the last 4 generations. All of us look at our parents like they're superheroes, and our parents look at our grandparents as superheroes. Why? My grandparents had to walk from one country to the next. They had to immigrate. They had to leave Libya, and they had to go to the next country by foot. Many people left Yemen by foot, Syria by foot. Literally, they walked from country to country. Some survived, some didn't survive. But that was normal. Our parents didn't walk from country to country, but they walked to school an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours each way. That was normal. I walked to school 20 minutes. My kids, your kids, hopefully they can walk to the bathroom without getting assistance. Why? That's the generation. That's the technological evolution. The next generation, most likely, they won't need to walk. They'll probably be levitating or flying in some type of cyborg or something like that. So, but again, there's advantages, there's disadvantages to this stuff. Either way, the responsibility of a parent is always going to be there. You have to make decisions on their behalf because they don't know what's good for them yet. They don't know what's bad for them. Don't just say, listen, do your best. You have to be involved because Baruch Hashem, you're a parent, you have life experience, at least 20 or 30 years more than them, you're going to know better. And when you have all of the technology out there, always make sure that whatever you're going as far as in the world of technology, number one, you're double checking it or your wife is double checking it. And number two, you're always following Da'at Torah as far as whether this is even appropriate or not. Because to some communities, to use the internet altogether is like the worst thing in the world, whereas in other communities it's acceptable if there's monitoring. So you have to make sure that you don't go too far away from where you need to be. But at the same token, you can't just tell the kids, listen, this doesn't exist. Because in a society that we live in today, a lot of stuff exists. And if the kid is going to find out only when he's 18 years old, he's going to have a lot more difficult time dealing with it. Because if you pretend like the internet and the phones and the computers don't exist, and then the kid one day gets married, he's 18, 20 years old, and that's the first time he discovers what a computer is, guess what? He's not going to know how to deal with it and all the garbage that comes with it. Whereas at least if you tell him, listen, you're 10 years old, you can use this program because this is a Torah program. This is a thing, because they're not even selling books anymore. They're giving you your education on some type of tablet. You tell them what's allowed, what's not allowed. Again, in certain communities, that's going to be acceptable. In other communities, they're never going to go that way. But either way, you have to know how to guide them. And B'ezrat Hashem, it's last but not least, pray a whole lot. Never stop praying. The Stipler Gaon was asked one time, how did you merit to have such a son as Rav Kanievsky? He says, you see this kippah? He had a big kippah. He says, I filled it up with tears every day. And until this day, I fill it up with tears. Rav Kanievsky was already 60-something years old. But his father, the Stipler Gaon, continued to cry for him. So we have to cry for our kids, or at the very least, pray for them. And B'ezrat Hashem, combination of all of these things is going to definitely give good results. It's just always double check. If you decide something you don't see the right results, ask again. Okay, I did this, it didn't get the right results. Sometimes it's because you missed a step. Sometimes it's because something changed. So if something doesn't get you the right results, it's never a problem to ask again. It's never a problem to double check again. Maybe the what's allowed today is not going to be allowed tomorrow because some factor changed. Like for example, YouTube Kids, when it first came out, was perfectly fine for most normal kids. Today, YouTube Kids is worse than regular YouTube. Literally, regular YouTube is not, I'm not saying that should be for everybody, but YouTube Kids is one of the worst things you could show your kids. Why? Literally, you see how they have an agenda in the shows where they're teaching, oh, this female horse is married to another female horse, and now they're having a son somehow. Like, why do I need to know this is a female horse or that's a female horse? It's an agenda. So the stuff that they're presenting to kids today is there's a lot of hidden agendas. So don't assume that just because something says kids, it's always going to be allowed. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's horrible. And that's why you have to constantly double check stuff. Yep. Anything else? We have some new people, so the new people could also feel free to ask questions. Yes?
Big focus on the website. There are a lot of videos about wasting seed.
Good.
How did that become such a big focus? And you just mentioned a few points about it.
So when it comes to kedusha, the issues of wasting seed, the issues of morality, this is the foundation of our Torah. The Parashat Kedoshim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, Kedoshim tiyu ki kadosh ani. You be holy because I am holy. Both Rashi and the Ramban say on that place that anywhere that you're going to find holiness, you will find morality. You will find people that are reserve themselves when it comes to the issues of kedusha, when it comes to issues of keeping themselves pure. Any place that you see immorality will not have kedusha. The foundation of our neshama, the yesod, if you ever saw that diagram, the Kabbalistic diagram, the yesod is where the brit is. A person cannot elevate themselves to any level of kedusha while still wasting seed, while still being immoral, while committing adultery, even if he is immoral with himself. In fact, a person that wastes seed doesn't realize the amount of damage that he's causing his neshama, because Rabbi Yochanan says, Ever katan yesh ba'adam, mazbio savea, marivo savea, mazbio ra'ev. The person has a small member in his body. If he satiates it, meaning if he feeds it all the time, he's always going to remain hungry. If he starves it, he'll be satiated. This is how it works in the human body that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave. A person that constantly feeds his lust will always lust for more. A person that starves his lust, meaning he controls it, he acts like a decent human being, is going to be under control, is going to be mentally healthier, is going to be physically healthier. Now, this goes further. The Ramban writes 750 years ago that if a person continues to feed his lust, meaning he wastes seed to the point where it's on a regular basis, eventually it's not going to be enough for him. He's going to want something more taboo. Therefore, he starts becoming immoral with people. Eventually, one girlfriend is not enough. He's going to want something more taboo. So he has multiple. He becomes promiscuous with others. Eventually, if he doesn't satiate himself enough there and he wants to be promiscuous with that, he's going to want more. This leads, the Ramban writes, this leads to homosexuality. Meaning, it's not enough for him to be with women, he's going to want to be with men too. If that's not enough and he continues being promiscuous, eventually becomes bestiality. He goes with animals. And this is already written 750 years ago. Prime examples of this happening in the past generations, Nebuchadnezzar, Belshazzar, and multiple other kings were married to animals. Belshazzar's queen was a dog. Bilam, his wife, was a donkey. These are people that were multi-millionaires, had access to whatever they want. They weren't like some ugly Gargamel little in the corner troll that no one wanted to look like. Okay, these are people that had access to whatever they want, but they chose a dog, they chose a donkey, they chose all types of strange animals. Why? Because they satiated their lust in so many different ways that it never was enough. They wanted something more. One of the things that Nebuchadnezzar did is that since he was the most powerful king, and will be the most powerful king until Mashiach comes, is that he would summon all of the junior kings, all of the kings of the other countries to come to him so he could rape them. And that's what he did with every single king. He would bring them and he would rape them. This is all in the Gemara. I'm not making this stuff up. This is not like fairy tales. So he had no limitations. He had no limitations. And eventually animals too. So the point is that when a person thinks, oh, it's my body, what's the difference? Why does HaShem care? Why did he give me this ta'ava if it's not allowed? All of these different types of excuses, you have to understand, just because HaShem gave you the ability to spit doesn't mean you need to turn into a camel. Just because Hashem gave you hands doesn't mean that that you're allowed to steal everything that you want. Okay, just because somebody likes to burn things, he is a kleptomaniac, doesn't mean that you should invite him for your Shabbat dinner. Okay, he says, so you have to understand that just because something is possible doesn't mean we need to do it. And a person, Hashem gave each and every single person a test and the ability to withstand it. Now, over the last 12 years, I taught about this topic for a couple of reasons. Number one, because like I said, it's the foundation of the Torah. Without it, there is no Kedusha. Number two, this is what Gedolei Yisrael throughout all of the generations spoke about time and time again. From the Chumash, from Parashat Noach, the Zohar Kadosh says, Kadosh Baruch Hu destroyed the world. Why did he destroy the world? Because of wasting seed. Why did Kadosh Baruch Hu hate the Canaanites? Because they were meto'avim. They did all types of immorality. Why did Kadosh Baruch Hu destroy Sodom and Gomorrah? Because of this. Every single destruction that has happened in the Torah always has to do with this.
Someone is struggling with it.
So everyone is struggling with it. Even the guy that's been keeping himself clean for 6 months is struggling with it. Everyone's struggling with it. Now, the biggest reason why people are struggling with it is because they do not have the tools of how to withstand it. So what I started doing over the last 12 years is I gave a lot of shiurim about the topic. We even have a film called Tikkun HaBrit, which is also online. It's free. Everything that I say is free. Or if somebody wants to get a tablet, they can get a tablet. It's on this thing also. It's one of the 19 hours films that are in it. This Tikkun HaBrit film has 116 sources from across different parts of the Torah of where it talks about this topic. But 116 is only less than 1% of 1% of the sources that talk about it. This is just stuff that we highlighted. Over the years, we've made hundreds of shiurim and short clips about this topic, because in order for a person to pass this test, it's not enough for them to know it's wrong. They need to know it's wrong. They need to know it's bad for them. And they need to know that they can overcome it. But in order to overcome it, they need the tools. The tools are knowledge. You need to have certain basic knowledge of why it's wrong, what's the price of if I just start to ignore it, And how do I overcome this? What do I need to do? How do I treat my body? How do I treat my, and I'm not just talking about, watch your eyes. Watch your eyes, everybody knows. Don't look at schmutz. You need a shiur for that? No. How do I treat my body? Most of the times, people that are addicted to it are very, very comfortable with themselves, especially when naked. They go in the shower, they roam around, they start looking at themselves in the mirror, they start flexing, they start looking, I got old, look, there's a gray hair. Don't be so comfortable with your body. The more comfortable you are with your body, the more likely you are to fall for this trap. Also, if you're going to a mikveh, if your mikveh is one of those mikvehs where it's like a college locker room where people just walk around naked as if they're just came Adam Rishon, don't go to that mikveh. If the people over there are not covering themselves, it's better not to go to the mikveh as a guy. Why? Even looking, even seeing another guy is going to impact you, even if you don't have the tava. You have to understand there are certain things that we're not supposed to do. For example, a lot of people don't know, Shulchan Aruch paskins, you're not allowed to see two animals mating. Not allowed to see two animals mating. The average person says, I don't have a tava for it. What am I? No, it's not about that. There's everything that you're not supposed to do. If you do it, it causes a certain defect, a certain damage, a certain break in that neshama. A certain klipa is formed. So this type of information, most people don't have it, or if they heard it, they forgot it. So we have a bunch of shiurim. If a person starts watching them, it'll start giving them different insights of how to overcome it. It gives them a daily chizuk. In the beginning, it could be that they need an hour a day. After they started protecting their brit, they have some koach. They don't need an hour a day. They need only a half hour a day. After a while, it's enough 15 minutes a day. 15 minutes a day chizuk, 5 minutes a day chizuk, depending on where you are. But it's not a smooth sailing. It's not like somebody stops on day one and that's it, they become Yosef HaTzadik tomorrow. Doesn't work that way. Like I said before, the way to success is full of failures. So in the beginning, the guy starts off, he's a teenager, he's regular, he wastes seed every single day. Now he heard that if he continues to doing it, and he doesn't do teshuvah, he goes to Gedolim and he's never going to come out. Why? Because that's what the Gemara says, that's what the Reshit Chochmah says, and there's a lot more details that you guys probably don't want to hear of what happens over there. But there's a movie about that too. The point is, it's called Gedolim. Anybody wants to know what happens there? There's 176 sources in that film. It's a very good film. Huh? Of course you could do teshuvah. Everything you can do teshuvah so long as you're alive. If you're alive, you can do teshuvah. Once we're finished in this world, there's no more teshuvah. Now the good news is, HaKadosh Baruch Hu loves all of you. Even if you made as many sins as I made in my life. He still loves you, that's why you're still alive, that's why you can still do teshuvah. Now the beautiful part is that it's available for you to do it, but no one's going to do it for you. So now, once a person learns that I can't do, that I have to stop, but he's already addicted to it. He's a teenager. He was doing it like as if it's breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But now he realizes I can't do it. For him to go from this to zero, it's not going to happen. It's not going to go. He's not going to go from being an addict to zero overnight. So it has to be, it's never okay to do it. Don't ever think for a second that it's ever okay to do it even once. But we also have to be realistic of what's possible for him to do. Where does he stand at that point? So the goal is stop as much as possible. Hold yourself for 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, a week, as much as you can. So he holds himself 2, 3, Rabbi, 4 days, I just fell. Okay, start again. Now you know you can hold it for 4 days. Next time, 7 days. Rabbi fell again. Okay, start again. Now he held it on for 2 weeks. Before you know it, he's holding on 3, 4, 5 months. The more a person overcomes the obstacle, the stronger they become, the more bracha comes to their life, the more parnasah comes to their life. And by the way, the number one way to lose the shefa of parnasah from Shamayim is by wasting seed. That's the number one thing that kills the bracha. Everyone can make money, but not everyone can have bracha. It's two different things. I know guys that can make $1 million a month, but all the money goes to legal bills, hospital bills, problems. So they make $1 million a month, but they have no bracha. Then you have a guy that makes $70,000, $80,000 a year, but he has everything he wants. Why? He has bracha. The $1 million guy doesn't have bracha. Two different things. So one of the ways to destroy bracha is this. A person wastes seed, they ruin their bracha. And that's why Chachmei Israel have talked about it many, many times. This is the foundation of our Torah. And the number two reason of why I spoke about it so many times over the years is because, for whatever reason or another, many rabbis stopped talking about it. In the previous generation, this was standard foundation of Judaism. This was a standard foundation. All of Gedolei Israel taught this. They wrote about this. There are many Sfarim about this. But in our politically correct generation, apparently it's okay to talk about porn to each other. It's okay to publicize porn. It's okay to do a lot of things except to teach that it's not good. Somehow it became okay to,
Maybe they came to the conclusion that it's good.
well, if they came to the conclusion that it's good, you see how society, they came to the conclusion that it's good. You see how society is degrading. So society is getting worse. The divorce rate is the highest it's ever been. And in order to be a celebrity, you have to be divorced at least 5 times. Before you're divorced 5 times, you can't be a celebrity. So the key is to understand. How do you
make money? How do you
Bring the shepherd. He just said.
How do you bring Shem? First thing that you want to do is to stop doing the things that ruin the bracha. Because Hashem already has shefa coming to you. When you do things that ruin the bracha, which I'll give you a few of them, that means that the shefa is coming down, but it's going to different places. Person wastes seed, big part of the shefa goes somewhere else, and if you really want to know where it goes to somebody you don't like. It goes to your enemies. So it's a double punishment. So the guy that you don't like, that you just saw with a brand new car and a brand new house and a brand new this, that could have been yours, but you gave it to him. So that's one. Second thing is chilul Shabbat. Person doesn't keep Shabbat like halakha, big part of the shefa. Third thing is problems with shlom bayit. If there's no shlom bayit, man and woman constantly fighting, it ruins the shefa. No, shlom bayit is important, but not everybody's married.
Even without
Not everybody's married.
the roughly is part, it's logically not healthy for the shepherd.
Oh yeah, of course. That in itself ruins shlom bayit, the waste and seed. The third thing that ruins the shefa is if the wife is not modest. What if the guy is married to a woman that walks around like she, forgot her clothes at home? So that kind of thing ruins a lot of bracha. The next thing that ruins bracha is being dishonest in business, doing things that are against the Torah, such as a malveh beribit, to make money from ribit. Initially, it looks like you're making a lot of money, but every time a person lends money with charging interest, they acquire themselves the curse that they will eventually lose that money at some point.
There's no such thing that whoever is rich, your mother was good or whatever, they're good luck.
There's a person, like I said, there's two different things. There's making, right, Hashem, if every time a person smoked a cigarette on Shabbat, his head would blow up, then everybody would know that, okay, you're not allowed to smoke on Shabbat, there's no test. So Hashem doesn't punish right away. Hashem gives us chances. Right, Hashem allows us to make choices, but eventually everything comes to judgment. Everything comes to, some people, they get judged earlier, some people later. Some people get it in their teenagers, some people later on in their life. But at some point or another, HaKadosh Baruch Hu closes the accounts with everybody. Initially, there's an illusion. This is what Shlomo HaMelech writes in Kohelet, that it looks like the evil person, the wicked people are prospering, but he says, but I've seen that eventually HaKadosh Baruch Hu, closes the accounts with everybody. It's an illusion. It's an illusion. So again, if a person wants to have bracha, the first thing is to stop doing the things that ruin the bracha. That in itself is going to change your mazal. That in itself is going to improve your situation. If let's say out of 5 things that I mentioned, that you're doing one thing wrong, you fix that, automatically your bracha is going to change. This is guaranteed and proven. If a person already, let's say, for example, all of these things, he's perfect. He protects his brit, he has shlom bayit, his wife is modest, Everything is, he's, tzaddik. Then he wants to increase his bracha. Then he needs to do things that increase bracha. To increase bracha, you can do a few things. Number one, you can take, if you want to have protection for your money, you give maaser to support Torah. If you want to become rich, you give chomesh. That's what the Gaon Mivilna says. Someone that gives maaser to publicize Torah, to help people do teshuvah, to support the world of Torah, and they want protection, they give maaser. If they want to become rich during their lifetime, they give chomesh. To give maaser and to give chomesh is not easy for everyone. Some people it's easy for them, some people it's very difficult for them, depending on their tikkun in this world. Some people have the midah of giving, some people they have the midah of taking. So it all depends on what your test is. The second thing is that a person can do to bring bracha is to support helping people do teshuvah, to be involved in it in some way or another. Why? Because this is the most favorite thing in the eyes of HaShem, because when you bring one of his children back to him, the prophet Jeremiah says, if you bring someone that used to be a Mechalel Shabbos, used to be a Kofer, used to be something, and you bring him back to HaShem as a Yakar, you're going to be like my mouth. Meaning, what you ask for, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, I'm going to do. Huh? Everyone wants to see it? It happens. I mean, if you've been watching some of my videos over the years, you would see it. Every year we have an annual campaign. We have campaigns throughout the whole year for a lot of things that we do, but the biggest campaign that we have is during the high holidays. That's usually when we raise the most amount of money. That's usually when we have a special blessing. And every year we publicize the miracles of the past year for the big donors. There are certain people that buy a special blessing donation. And every year we publicize, we have them on video. They tell us, we don't know what their miracle is. They tell us what happened to you from last year. And every year we have new miracles. Woman had a cancer is gone. A guy married for 10 years, no kids, has kids. A person that had $15,000 to his name ended up the year with $1.5 million. All types, all of it is in there. And we make sure all these videos are public. All of these videos are public. Ask Yoel. All these videos are public, and there's a lot of miracles that are not reported. I keep asking the people to report the miracles. But every year we have more and more. Why?
Giving the commission.
So why do we publicize it? Because one of the things that HaKadosh Baruch Hu promises is when you support Torah, you're supposed to get a blessing. So I always tell people, and I don't know if anybody else does it, I don't know if anybody else does it also, I tell people, if you're seriously donating to our organization over an extended period of time, and you don't see any blessing, then there's something wrong with us. What? You're supposed to see a blessing. Now, I'm not saying it's going to automatically fix every problem you have, but you're supposed to see a blessing. You're supposed to see some major improvement. There has to be. Some people get health, some people get finances, some people get zivug. Everybody gets something. Now, many times people, they donate, they feel good, they get compliments, but they don't really see any results. They don't really see any difference in their life. And they've already gotten to a point where they feel like, listen, I just give because it's good to give. Yes, it's good to give, but you would give more if you saw results. So that's why we like to publicize the results, to show people, listen, this is what these people got. Choose wisely. Some people tell me, listen, I gave 10 times more to such and such organization, I haven't gotten anything. I said, okay, so try something else. Huh?
I give to a lot of people.
Again, just because you give doesn't mean it's automatically the right place. So if you give, for example, to a person that's a corrupt person, Rabbi Nachman of Breslov says if a person gives money to a person that's corrupt, it's considered in the same level as wasting seed. Why? You're taking the shefa that Hashem gave you and you're wasting it. You're giving it to support something bad. So a person has to know that just like you do research on your real estate before you buy it, on your stocks before you buy it, on your lawyer before you hire him, on your employee just like you do research on anything else, you have to do research on the tzedakah that you give of what is it going to do? What is it actually supporting? Is it just buying this guy a new car because he wants the new 2027 model? Or is it actually going to publicize the Kadosh Baruch Hu's name? What's going to be? What's going to happen with this money? Okay, I see the campaign. They want to raise $1 million, $2 million, $5 million, $10 million. Fine. What's going to happen? What's going to happen as a result? And check, you have to see where your money is going. Why? Because if we give blindly, it's like as if we're wasting it. And I know a lot of people say, listen, I give blindly, Hashem takes care of it. Fine. Would you do your real estate transactions like that? Would you hire a lawyer? Listen, I'm going to hire any lawyer, and Hashem's going to do the rest. Emunah, you have to apply the same emunah that you do on other investments on this investment. Why? If I told you, listen, you have an extra $5 million? No, I don't have extra $5 million. I have $5 million, but I don't have extra $5 million. Okay, I have a really, really good deal for you. Okay, what's the deal? I can't tell you. But give me the $5 million, and I'll invest it for you. You're going to give me the $5 million? Ma pitom. Why not? What are you talking about? Rabbi, you're a nice guy, but I'm not going to give you $5 million until I see it. I want to see the building with my eyes. I want to see the field. I want to see the horses. I want to see something. Why can't you just trust me? I'm a rabbi after all. No, Rabbi, trust you. But first I want to test you. I want to see the first one. So how come on material that's only going to be in this world, that is only in the temporary world, you do the research, but on the investment for eternity, you don't do the research? $5 million for a piece of real estate, you would do the research. But the real estate, even if it's the best piece of real estate in the world, it turns to $100 million after the person dies, guess what? It's worthless. Can't take it with him. But that same money that he's going to invest into publicizing Torah, into Tzedakah, into helping poor, into whatever good they're going to do, that's going to come with him. How come he's not checking it? So a person has an obligation to do the minimum ishtadlut of seeing where is this money going, and not just blindly give, because if you would blindly give in business, then blindly give in tzedakah. If you're such a Baal Bitachon, do you trust Hashem blindly? I'm going to invest in whatever, I'm going to hire whatever, I trust in Hashem, then you can give tzedakah blindly. But if you're going to investigate every investment 10 times before you invest, and get 5 references for every employee before you hire him, then you have to do some double checking on also where you give and why you give. Why? Because this is an investment. It's not just like do good for the sake of good. It's an investment. It's an investment into your Olam Haba. And once people show up to Olam Haba, they're going to either have surprises or disappointments. They build a house here, $5 million house. Kitchen, $150,000. They want to show up to Shamayim, at least with the same thing. They want to have also a $10 million house in Shamayim. They also want to have a $200,000 kitchen in Shamayim. But if they donated to a bunch of corrupt places, if they wasted their money, if they gambled, they did all types of things, in Shamayim, maybe they're going to have a bathroom. The house, not so much. Why? Hashem gave you money to invest. Invest wisely, both in this world and the next. Anything?
The Rav tells us about the transparency of investing in business without Hashem.
One of the beautiful things that Baruch Hashem, people that have been with us for a while, is that I like to be an open book. I like to tell people whatever question you have, I'll answer, whether it's personal, business, or whatever. I have no problem. And also, I like to make everything that we do public. So, like I said, when people want to hear about miracles, I ask different donors to please make a public video about what happened to you. But there's specific people. Every year, there's more. Aside from that, I also, all the numbers, all our financials, everything is public. Anyone that types in bezrathashem.org, you go on GuideStar or Candid, can see the financials, can see where the money goes, can see I haven't taken a salary in 12 years, can see I work for free, can see all of these things. So all of these things, why do I do all of this? Because I'm the most skeptical person out there. What I did for a living for almost 20 years is I analyze investments, I analyze red flags, I look for problems, I look for mistakes. So I want people to know this is what it is and this is what you're getting. So there's no surprises. Baruch Hashem, we disclose so much that the organization called GuideStar, also it's called Candid, they track nearly 2 million nonprofit organizations. Only 1% of all of those nonprofit organizations have the highest level of transparency, called platinum. So let's say call it 20,000 to level of platinum, it's called. Guidestar Platinum. So only 1% have this platinum, which is, again, out of 2 million, about 20,000. Most of the organizations that have this platinum are huge organizations with tens and tens of millions of dollars and staff and so on and so forth. But Baruch Hashem, we've worked very, very hard to be so transparent that we've gotten the platinum for the last 3 years in a row. And our goal is to continue. Why? I want to show everybody, this is what we do, this is what you get. Now you know where your money is going, because that's what I did on Wall Street. Wall Street, I had to give people a statement every month. I had to give them a statement. This is what you get. This is, you invested in this is what you got. Every year you get a statement. Same concept with donations. I think that people need to invest a little bit more time into what they donate, where they donate, why they donate, because according to our Chachamim, you're supposed to get results for supporting Torah in this world and the next, not just the next world. It's not supposed to be just schar in Gan Eden. You're also supposed to get results in this world, which means that if your life hasn't improved, there's one of a few problems. Either you're not giving enough, or you're giving to the wrong places. That's pretty much, it's a very limited amount of possibilities. So a person has to double check. If they're not giving enough, that's a problem. If they're giving more than enough, they're one of the gvirim, then are you giving to the wrong place? The third possibility is, like I said before, is a person is doing something to ruin their berachah. If they're doing something to ruin their berachah, it doesn't matter how much they give. If they're making money from stealing from people, or they're in one of these corrupt businesses of merchant cash advance, it doesn't matter if they give $1 billion a day. None of that is going to give them more berachah. They may make more money. Huh? It's worse. It's worse when they do business with goyim, because when Reuven takes advantage of Shimon, then Shimon doesn't like Reuven anymore. But when Reuven takes advantage of Jose, then guess what? Jose becomes an anti-Semite. So that becomes Chilul Hashem. And the Rambam writes that Chilul Hashem is the worst of all. The Gemara says it's the worst of all. What does it mean, the worst of all? That means that, according to the Gemara Masechet Yomah, that means that the person cannot do easy tshuva for Chilul Hashem, and in most cases, he has to die in order to start doing tshuva for it. Some of the Chachamim that spoke about it, like Rabbi Israel Misalan, says that you could fix Chilul Hashem with Kiddush Hashem, but to do Kiddush Hashem is not easy. People think that just because you gave challah to your next door neighbor, it's Kiddush Hashem. It's not so simple to do Kiddush Hashem. But to go and take advantage of goyim is worse than taking advantage of Jews. Because you take advantage of a Jew, you're hurting a Jew. It's not good. The person has to do tshuva for it. But if you hurt a goy, gezel a goy is worse than a Jew. I have an entire shiurim about this. We also have an halachic tshuva of why the merchant cash advance business is forbidden for Jews. And we've offered anyone that's a chacham that wants to prove this tshuva wrong, $100,000. The offer has been going on for 7 years. Every chacham that has read the tshuva agreed with it. Huh? Why is it wrong for us to lend money to goyim?
This is only for
That's what a lot of chachamim have thought initially until they learn more about the topic. It's not a mitzvah, it's a reshut, meaning you're allowed to charge interest to the goy, but it's not a mitzvah. How do we know it's not a mitzvah? A lot of people say, wait, the Rambam says it's a mitzvah, but how come it's not part of the Sefer HaMitzvot? When the Rambam wrote the Sefer HaMitzvot, he had all of the mitzvot listed. There's no mitzvah of charging ribit. And the Shulchan Aruch, who most of the time paskins like the Rambam, says it's not a mitzvah, it's a reshut, meaning it's permitted to charge the goyim interest. But permitted does not mean charge them whatever they want. Charge them whatever you want. Because once you get to a point where you're charging the goy predatory rates, meaning that statistically possible, it's statistically impossible for that customer to ever get ahead, then it's not considered lending anymore. It's considered gezel. So if you're charging the guy, let's say, for example, 20%, like the bank or the credit card, 29%, then it's statistically probable for him to pay the money back, because a normal business that functions, even if you buy the goods for $1 and you sell them for $10, your profit margin is not 90%, because you have overhead, you have the electricity, you have the employees, you have the insurance, you have all of the different things. At the end of the day, if you're a healthy business, you make 25% profit margin. That's a healthy business. 25%. If you're a software company with very little overhead, you're like Palantir, the most profitable software company in the last few years, you're at 71%, which is an anomaly. It's not realistic. Most businesses, healthy businesses, your mom and pop shops, your plumber, your electrician, your lawyer, 25% is a healthy business after expenses. Which means if you are lending money to a person and their interest is 200% because they're charging you 50% for every 3 months, which annualized is over 200% per year, that means it is impossible for that business to ever be profitable, because the cost of money is higher than the profitability that's possible. This is the reason why the industry is called predatory. Predatory means that the business itself preys on its customers. The average person that borrows money from merchant cash advance ends up borrowing money 3 to 5 times to refinance the same loan until they declare bankruptcy. When the merchant cash advance company is analyzing who they're going to lend money to, they're not analyzing what kind of business you have. They're analyzing how much money you have in the bank in order to assess whether you have at least 90 days of lifetime, because that's all they need in order to suck out the blood and the money and whatever is left of the business. Now, most people are not familiar with this business and not realizing the kind of damage that it's causing, because some people assume that, if you could charge interest to the goyim, you could charge anything you want. But that's not the case. In fact, there are some chachamim that say it's asur to charge the Christians and the Ishmaelim any interest. The Abarbanel writes that when it says la nochri tashich, it's not referring to the Edom or to Ishmael. Nochri is Knaanim. The Nochri is not Edom or Ishmael. The Nochri is Knaanim. And therefore, he says that the Nochri is someone you're allowed to charge interest, but the Ishmaeli and Edom are included under Achicha, because there's different verses in the Torah that says that don't torment your brother. Edom is considered Achicha. Ishmael is considered Achicha. And therefore, the Abarbanel Paskins, you're not even allowed to charge them interest at all. In fact, Rabbi Cheskel Landau, right, Alav Shalom, writes, people that lend money to goyim with high interest are causing two ra'ot. So, one, they are lending money with interest, which is always frowned upon, so much so that even Shlomo HaMelech forbid it at his time to lend money to goyim at all, as far as charging interest. But on top of that, they're increasing anti-Semitism, so much so that Rav Landau says someone that lends money to goyim with high interest has a din rodef, meaning he's considered as if he's trying to kill Jews. We have a whole halachic teshuvah on it that has historical sources, halachic sources, discusses the Rambam that people confuse, discusses the Abarbanel, discusses the Ran. Really, the whole issue of lending money with interest, when the Gemara in Masechet Bava Metzia talks about it, it says we're really allowed to lend money with interest to goyim under 2 conditions. One, there's no other jobs available to the Jews, which was very common in past generations, because they restrict us from being lawyers, from being doctors, from being a lot of different things. So we were forced to be in this business of lending money. There's no other way for us to make money, and therefore we're allowed to lend money with interest to just make enough to survive. But we're not allowed to prosper from it, because it's not a good business. 2, if you're a Talmid Chacham. Those are the 2 conditions. That's what the Gemara Masechet Bava Metzia says. Now, why does it matter if you're a Talmid Chacham? It says the reason why you're not allowed to make a lot of money in this business of lending money with interest to the goyim is because if you're lending money to the goyim with interest, and you're making a lot of it, that means you're going to socialize with them on a regular basis. That means they're going to influence you on a regular basis, and before you know it, you're going to turn into a goy yourself. So therefore, you can make just enough money to survive because that will limit the amount of time you spend with them. So how come the Talmid Chacham is allowed to make a lot of money from it? That's because he's a Talmid Chacham and we're not worried about him being influenced by the Goyim. He learns Torah all day. So now the Ran comes, and this is already hundreds of years ago, this is a Rishonim. The Ran comes and says, I don't understand how we have an entire generation where everybody's a Talmid Chacham. How is it that everybody's Talmid Chacham? Because everybody's is lending money with interest and they're becoming rich of it in this generation. Because obviously, they're not just making a basic living, like the first condition. They're becoming rich. How is it that they're becoming rich? What, they're all Talmidei Chachamim, that they're allowing themselves to make so much money out of this business? He says, but we didn't become all Talmidei Chachamim. So how did it happen? In fact, in the podcast that I did earlier today, and in many of my shiurim, and even in a film that we made called Ora Ganuz, the whole segment about historical proofs, historical proofs, that before every major Jewish disaster, destruction of the first Bet HaMikdash, destruction of the second Bet HaMikdash, the pogroms in England in the 1100s, the Spanish Inquisition, the pogroms in Morocco, the pogroms in Ukraine, the Holocaust, every major disaster, national disaster that the Jewish people have had in history, the number one business for the Jewish people before that is high interest lending to the Goyim. This is not a coincidence. This is a reality. In previous generations, it was called different names. Today, it's called merchant cash advance. And I've been saying this for at least 7 or 8 years. The last time I did a whole tour of shiurim in New York was about 7, 8 years ago. I went to different places, and I told them back then, this business is bringing the next Holocaust. In the last 7 years, did anti-Semitism increase, or did we become old tzaddikim and everybody loves us all of a sudden? Everything has gotten worse in the last 7 years. When I said it 7, 8 years ago, anti-Semitism wasn't exactly where it was right now. We were in much business. And guess what? Cash advance business only grew during that time. It grew to such an extent that it became normal. People are flaunting the $300,000 watch they bought this week for money they made this week. People are looking up. People are, right, or they took it from one of their customers that couldn't pay the loan. The people are flaunting money. People are throwing money. People are thinking that this is okay. Why? Because the common excuse is, listen, we're only doing it to Goyim. And number two, the rabbi says it's okay. Which rabbi? No one wants to put their name on it. But the reality is, every single Talmid Chacham we've given, this Teshuvah that we have published, that has read it, we told him, listen, if you could write a Teshuvah that proves this wrong, $100,000 payable to whoever you want. Every single person that has read the Teshuvah has agreed, there's no way to disprove this Teshuvah. This business is not allowed for Jewish people. There's no permission to do it. Why? It's considered gezel. It's considered chilul Hashem. It violates multiple halachas. It's gnevat da'at. There's multiple things that this business is that people do not realize unless they study intensely the ilchot of ribit, the ribit agoy. It's not like as simple as people say. Some people say, no, listen, the Rambam says it's a mitzvah. No, you misunderstood the Rambam. If it was a mitzvah, it would be listed in one of the 630 mitzvot. In his book, he wrote a sefer of mitzvot. It's not there, which means it's not a mitzvah. It's a reshut, it's a permission, but it's not a permission, a license to steal. There's a difference between charging ribit, like the chukot ha'olam, like what's happening in the world, and a ribit that is predatory. The Torah did not give us permission to destroy people's lives. And the more a person learns about this business, the more they realize this business is destroying the economy. It's destroying lives. People are committing suicide as a result of what's happening to their business. And this is not a new thing. This is not a new thing. This is something that, unfortunately, a mistake that Am Yisrael has made many times in history, and it never ended it well. the chief rabbi of Morocco in the 1800s, spoke against the people that were lending money with high interest, as if like he was speaking to the government against his own people. Why? He says the anti-Semitism, all you guys hate us because of these people. The same thing happened in Ukraine. The same thing happened all over the generations. This has happened. It's not a new problem. It's just called a new name. But unfortunately, I am from what I know, I am the only English-speaking rabbi that's speaking about it. Or in Hebrew, there's my rabbi is the only Hebrew-speaking rabbi speaking about it. Nobody else is speaking about it, either because they're not aware of the problem, or they're part of the problem. Those are the only two realities. Huh? The Teshuvah is on our website. You go to bezrathashem.org. There's a section called free PDFs and free books. You can download it. It's in one of two books. There's a book called Ochachot v'Tochachot. It's one of the Teshuvahs over there. Or there's Achtov l'Yisrael. That's Perek Hey. Or if you could just simply want to send me a text message or email, I could just send you the links to those two books, save you the time, and you could just look into the two books that we published. But it's a teshuvah that is full of information, full of sources, very, very little opinion, if any at all. It's a legitimate halachic teshuvah. And it's something that, Be'ezrat Hashem, we're hoping that a lot more people become aware of, because this business is going to bring a big ason, chas v'shalom, but it's bringing it already. There's a lot of lawyers and journalists that talk about this. And interestingly enough, even though there are some non-Jews in it, including the mafia, that have shut down their loan shark business and replaced it with merchant cash advance, because it's just a legal way to do the same exact thing. If you look at every journalist, Bloomberg did a whole special, 5-article special about it, 5-week special. The Attorney General fined this industry, two of the leading companies in this industry, nearly $2 billion. There are more major publicly traded companies that have come from this. There are journalists that are covering it. There are lawyers that are covering it. Everyone that spoke about it never mentions the black guy that works in there, never mentions the Italian, never mentions the Christians, the Catholic, never mentions the Muslim, the atheist. But everyone happens to know this guy is Jewish. These owners are Jewish. Now, obviously, there are some goyim that work in this business, but only we're mentioned. Why? Number one, we're a dominant force in that business. It's a reality. It's not a conspiracy. We're the majority of the people in this business. And number two, it's Yad Hashem. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is showing us, listen, you want to act like goyim? You want to do things that are against the Torah? I'll make sure to use Edom to be the stick. This is a reality. It's not a new problem. I have people that have watched some of my shiurim about this topic and other things, that when they first saw my video, they were anti-Semites. They were Nazis. And they thought, wait, look, he's talking against his own people. Look, this rabbi. They started watching more of my shiurim, and they started realizing, listen, there's a difference between what the Torah says and what some people say. Not every Jew is the best representation of Judaism. Some people are a misrepresentation. There's always a bad apple. And guess what? Some of these Nazis realize that there's such a big difference between what we're supposed to be and what the people they hate are. He says it's two different people. The people that they hate, they're not doing what they're doing that's bad because they're Jewish. They're doing what they're doing bad because they're people. George Soros is not a Rasha Merusha because he's Jewish. He's a Rasha Merusha because he's a selfish person and he cares less about anybody else but himself. And all of those people that the Nazis and all of these anti-Semites like to highlight as bad Jews, some of these Nazis realize from my shurim, yeah, but a lot of times they start realizing, listen, these people that are being highlighted, they're not doing what they're doing because they're Jewish. They're doing it because they're people. And guess what? Some of these Nazis became former Nazis. And some of them even converted to Judaism. Just in the last week, a famous Nazi publicly stated that he is no longer a Nazi. He's already been doing it for the last few months, but a week ago, he publicly stated that he stopped being a Nazi because of our shiurim. Instead of being a Nazi, he now loves Jews and he wants to make bridges between to make peace. So the beautiful thing is, Rabotai, is that the truth of the Torah is always going to bring good. But we have to understand what the truth is. The Torah is not supposed to hurt anyone. There's no such law in the Torah that allows us, that permits us to do things that hurt the nations. There's no such permission whatsoever. HaKadosh Baruch Hu nearly killed Yonah Navi. Yonah the prophet is one of the books of the Tanakh. Why did he almost kill Yonah Navi? Because Yonah Navi didn't want to go help the Goyim. He told him, listen, go tell the Goyim 5 words. If you don't do Teshuvah, Hashem is going to destroy you in 40 days. This is 5 words in Hebrew. Yonah didn't want to do it, so Hashem almost killed him. Put him to this whole... For what? For not wanting to help the Goyim by telling them 5 words. So if Yonah went through hell and back, just because he didn't want to tell the Goyim a message, not to teach them, not to do Kiruv with them, just simply to tell them, listen, warning from Shemayim, if you don't do Teshuvah, Hashem is going to destroy you. If Yonah suffered to such an extent, just for not wanting to help the Goyim with that, why would anybody think that we're allowed, or the Torah allows us to hurt the Goyim? Hashem created them too. I'm not saying that we need to go and stop all the good that we do for the Jewish people and start giving it to the non-Jewish community. But again, to go from being known as a merciful nation to being a nation that has people in it that are preying on the Goyim, the Torah doesn't permit such a thing. And this business is a predatory business. There's no other way. Now, some rabbis are not aware. Some rabbis are unfamiliar. Like I said, before I became a rabbi, I spent nearly 2 decades being a Wall Street executive. I invested and researched investments for a living. I analyzed businesses. That was my expertise. No rabbi can tell me I don't know what I'm talking about. I knew about this cash advance business when I was still on Wall Street, and I already knew that it was corrupt back then. I didn't know the halacha aspect of it because I wasn't religious, but I knew it was a corrupt business back then. This business has always been corrupt. When I became religious and started realizing this is very popular among the religious Jews, I almost fainted. So how could it be? Why would a religious Jew be in this business? The most corrupt business in the world. Everybody knows it. And unfortunately, the more I screamed about it, the more it became more and more popular over the years. In the last 5 years, it became standard. Where do they recruit? They go to yeshivas and they tell Bachurim, listen, you're 18 years old, you don't really have any talents, you don't have any abilities, and you know how expensive it is to live in a Jewish community. The house, $700,000, $800,000, $1 million if it's a new community. If it's a community like this, $1.5 million, $2 million, $4 million, $5 million, you have to be a multimillionaire just to get a house to live in. And that's just for the house. Tuition, you have kids, every kid's going to cost you a couple $1,000s a month if you want to send them to school. That means you can't be poor to be a Jew. And what talents do you have? You're 18 years old. Do you know how to put your kippah on by yourself? What do you know in your life? So you want to make money? Okay, I can teach you how to make money. How? Come to this office, pick up the phone and say, yes, Mr. Jones, we'll lend you $1 million. It requires no talent, no ability, no skill set whatsoever. You don't even need to call the people. They call you. It's not like a regular sales job where you need to develop special communication skills in order to convince the guy to do something. The guy is calling you. You're not asking him to give you anything. You're giving him. All he has to do is sign the paperwork. All you have to do is fool him to make him think that this is good for him. That's it. You're telling him, listen, we're not a merchant cash advance. We are, we're a factoring company. We're going to recover your receivables. We have a 9% recovery rate. This is all manure. This is all lies. They put 9% on the paperwork, 8% recovery. You know what that means? Nothing. It has nothing to do with what the deal is. It's just complete figment of imagination to steer the person's attention into something to make them believe that's what they're going to get charged. Or they say, oh, we're only going to charge you 1.6%, but they don't realize it's 1.64% per day. What does that annualize to be? Over 400%. Oh, I said, no, we're only going to charge you what? You want to borrow the money? We're going to give you 50, you have to give us 75,000 in 3 months. We're only charging you 50%. 50% after 3 months is not 50%. 50% after 3 months is over 200% annualized. All of these tricks may work on people that don't know business. According to halacha, it's a predatory business. It's forbidden in every way, shape, or form, and there is no less than 6 reasons, halachically, why it's asur, and there's no doubt in my mind that this is bringing koach to Amalek. The stronger this business is, the stronger Amalek is going to become. And that's what's happened in the last several years, and unfortunately that's what happened in past generations. I know I'm not going to change everything. My hope is that more and more people realize the truth to the point where, at the very least, not as many people go to this business. Number two, people stop looking up to these losers that are stealing people's money and calling it making a living because he bought a new Porsche or he bought a new Ferrari or he has a $400,000 watch. If he made that money from cash advance, it's the same thing as him making that money from murdering people. It's no different. It's damim. It's damim. It's not considered. It's considered gezel. Gezel is when you steal money. It's called damim. You just destroyed somebody's life. Now, anyone that spent any time building a business knows how much mesirut nefesh it requires to build a business, to pay the bills on time, to pay the employees on time, to make sure you pay for your inventory, your suppliers, to make sure that you're complying with the law, to make sure everybody gets money. People that start businesses have to lose sleep, have to lose time with their family, have to lose pretty much their life just to build a business. So imagine a business built after 25, 30 years. He's got 25, 30 employees. He has lost a lot of sleep over the last 30 years, but he finally built a business. He thinks, listen, I'm going to borrow $500,000 from this cash advance. I'm going to be able to expand the business. He doesn't realize that he's writing himself a death sentence. Now, after he refinances that loan from cash advance to cash advance, from lie to lie, because they keep telling him they're going to send him to they're going to give him after the second loan. Then we got to know you. Then we'll give you a small business loan, which is only going to be 12%. It's only going to be 8%. They give him all types of tricks to buy more time. But each time they get more commission. Eventually, they even send them to a sister company of debt settlement. That's another way they can make more money on commissions. It's the same company, just different name on the door. Sometimes it's in the same building. The point is that after they do this, the guy declares bankruptcy. What does it mean, declare bankruptcy? That means that a 30-year business goes to garbage. That means 20 employees are unemployed. That means that all the suppliers that fed their kids with that money, gone. The amount of damage that every business that gets shut down from this company, from this merchant cash advance, is unquantifiable. It's not he just hurt one guy. When Wall Street had corrupt businesses as a standard in the 1980s, the damage was limited. Why? The boiler room convinced some guy to invest $500,000, $1 million, whatever it was, in some investment. Let's say the investment was fake. He stole the money. Guess what? That doctor or that lawyer that invested $1 million, he lost $1 million. The end. He got hurt. That's it. The business continued, his profession continued, his life continued, and he rebuilt himself. Here it's different. The corruption in this, you're not destroying a person. You're destroying an entire company. You're destroying entire families. The magnitude of the fraud and the damage from this is much, much worse than people imagine. This is the reason why every time we had a disaster, right before it, number one business, high interest lending to non-Jews. So my goal is to spread the message so less people go into it. Number two, that less people realize that this is nothing to appreciate, this is nothing to look up to. And quite frankly, I'm hoping that every community says, you know what? Anyone that's in cash advance business, we don't want a tzedakah. Now I know that's high hopes. I know that's maybe, I'm imagining. But One thing I can tell you, nothing good will ever come out of that money. Anything that's built from that money, from that tzedakah, will be destroyed at some point. Why? It's stolen money. It's not money, it's not a bracha money. And Be'ezrat Hashem, I'm hoping that more and more people realize that Am Yisrael is not here to be a darkness to the nations. We're here to be Or LaGoyim. Or LaGoyim means we cannot do things that we know for sure will hurt them. We have no permission to just hurt the Goyim. When you hurt a Goy, it's worse than hurting a Jew. Why? Because hurting a Goy creates Chilul Hashem. So just the whole idea of doing this, becoming a standard, you see how the Satan has fooled an entire generation. And I'm hoping that all of you guys, you probably know at least one person that's in the business. That's how widespread it is. Tell them, you know what? Maybe you should read this Teshuvah. Before you lose your Olam Haba, maybe you should read this Teshuvah with your rabbi, with Talmid Chacham. He can explain to you what it says, and then you can decide your eternity based on that. Because before you decide who to marry, you do some research. Before you decide what to invest, you do some research. Maybe before you invest your Olam Haba into a business that's going to make you lose it, maybe you should read this Teshuvah. Maybe it's not allowed. Because the reality is that even if there's only, I know for sure I'm right. It's not my opinion. It's not Torah. But even if there's 1% chance that I'm right, that means that everybody in this industry, the broker, the owner, the secretary, even the janitor that's involved in this business is in trouble. And not small trouble. So I'm hoping that more and more people in every frum community will take this to heart. Why? Because the situation only got worse. And some of you, I know I already see from the looks in the faces, some of you know everything I'm saying is not only true, but there's even extra on it that I'm not even saying. It's worse. And every guy that I spoke to in this business, Baruch Hashem, we convinced a few people to leave it, but every single person, whether the ones that left it or didn't leave it, every single person told me, listen, Rabbi, not only is everything that you say is true, but it's much worse. It's much worse than you say. So please, Rabotai, spread the message. Thank you very much for learning with me. May Hashem bless each and every single one of you. Anyone that wants to support, be partners in all the amazing things that we're doing, we have a website called Be'ezratHashem.org. Anyone that wants to get one of these things for their friend, for their family, for themselves, you could either send me a text message and with your email, and we could send you a thing you could buy one of these, or you could just go to the website and order it from the website. I have some business cards here that have my email, so I don't have to give it personally to each one of you. Anyone that wants the phone number and the emails. I don't answer phone calls, but I do answer text messages. So there's a bunch of cards here. Anybody that wants it, there's on ship.
This is not an award. It's much more than that. What is it? It's the Candid Platinum Seal of Transparency. There are 1.8 million nonprofits in the United States. Less than 1% of them are recognized at the highest tier of financial program transparency of Platinum. Baruch Hashem, for the third year in a row, Be'ezrat Hashem is one of them. What is it? This Candid Platinum Seal of Transparency is where an organization publishes publicly, not just its financials and governance, but verified program outcomes, numbers that have to be reproven every single year. Most nonprofits our size don't even apply. The documentation is demanding, the accountability is uncomfortable, but we pursue it because you deserve to know exactly what your support is doing. What did your support do in the year 2025? Here's what your support did this past year. And it was verified by Candid. 238,000 Jewish individuals were fed or financially assisted. Over 15,000 Torah lectures and 500 Torah films were produced and distributed across 23 channels and 15 languages. 280,000 free Sfarim by Rabbi Ephraim Kachlon and myself were distributed worldwide for free, up from 150,000 the year before. 2.3 million outreach materials were given out free of charge, like the Asher Yatzar and USBs, CDs. All of this, Baruch Hashem, was funded almost entirely by individual donors, just like yourself. No foundation grants, just people like you who watched our videos, got inspired, and decided to do something with us. Why do we pursue this? In Judaism, we say that a person is judged not by what they do once, but what they do consistently. Earning platinum once shows that you can prepare a good report. Earning it 3 years in a row proves it's how we actually operate. When you give Bezrat HaShem your donations, you're not just trusting us. You're trusting a system that's been audited, verified, and made public 3 times over. And your trust is something that we hold very dear. We don't take it lightly. One of the most amazing things we have now is the kiruvstore.org, where people can order free books and other materials. But in addition to that, we also have real-time numbers of what we've done. So you could actually see that the numbers have gone up much more since this report was officially granted to us last year. If you want to be part of what we're building, go to bezrathashem.org/donate. The link is going to be in the description. And you want to see exactly where every dollar is being used, our full Candid profile is also going to be linked below. See it for yourself. And if you know someone who's been waiting to support a Torah outreach organization that actually proves what it does with people's donations, share this video with them. Thank you for the 3 years of trust, and Bezrat Hashem, we keep going. When we do this together.